Chapter 961, 961 Green Dragon God Relocate, 1. 961 Green Dragon God Relocate, 1. Earth Element Venue. Dragon Trial. Shiyu was already standing opposite the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor. At this moment, the Green Dragon Prince was the most confused. Human, don't tell me you want to participate in this trial? You want to challenge me? The Green Dragon Prince's voice was filled with disbelief, as if he was shocked by Shiyu's courage. Who? Shiyu looked puzzled and said, could it be that I can't participate in this trial? At this moment, the Green Dragon Prince was completely impressed. He was amused by this arrogant and ridiculous human. Not to mention it, the boar god, Shen Ming, and the holy divine deer looked at Shiyu in surprise. Wait a minute, this kid, no way? You have a dragon-type pet. The Green Dragon Prince laughed very loudly. At the scene, not many people knew that Shiyu had a dragon-type pet. Divine Source Legendary, President Lin, World Tree Clone. They had all seen Buggy in the form of a green dragon. The fallen angel's expression also changed because it had once sensed a dragon might that shocked it in Shiyu's gaze. As for the others, they completely didn't remember Shiyu having a dragon-type pet. Iron-eating beast, butterfly of imagination, baby ginseng, sword spirit, blue sea sprite, mechanical phantom beast. Although the butterfly of imagination had sometimes created dragon element illusions, it was still a butterfly evolved by the green silkworm after all. No one would think about dragons. You have a dragon-type contracted creature? Apart from the Green Dragon Prince, the Demon King Dragon was also very puzzled. He didn't expect Shiyu, who had previously obtained the inheritance of the four gods, to want to interfere again. To be honest, it didn't want to pass the inheritance to someone who repeated it. Moreover, it didn't think that Shiyu could defeat this Green Dragon Prince. Yes, so, do you want to admit defeat? To be honest, I don't want to send it to battle. Shiyu looked at the Green Dragon Prince and said, because that might be very troublesome for the gods. What a joke! The Green Dragon Prince laughed and said, shouldn't you be the one who should get lost? That Earth Dragon was lucky enough to dodge the calamity just now, but you're not that lucky. Challenging a king such as myself, are you already prepared to die? Shiyu said in amusement, do you want to kill me? The Green Dragon Prince laughed. If you give me your ginseng baby to eat, I might consider sparing your life. At this moment, Inatella was like the calm before a storm. 99.99% of the people looked at the venue in disbelief, not understanding why Shiyu was so greedy. Could it be that Shiyu thought that no matter which inheritance it was, it could be obtained as easily as before? The competitors this time were already completely different from the previous creatures. What exactly is going on? Yi Xing, Divine Bell, and the others looked at Lu Qingyi in a daze. How would I know? Don't look at me for everything. Lu Qingyi was speechless and looked at President Lin. He looked at the Gem Cat. At this moment, the Gem Cat was also stunned. Did Shiyu have a dragon element skill? The Dragon of Imagination skill seemed to be able to temporarily give Buggy a dragon element skill, but did this count? Oh, wait, that Buggy seemed to have broken through to Overlord. Could it be that there was a new dragon element? But even so, wasn't it too difficult for an Overlord to challenge a totem level? After all, this Green Dragon Prince wasn't weak. It might not even be able to defeat it. It was very difficult for the Gem Cat to understand why Shiyu, a kid it had always protected, suddenly challenged such a monster. Shiyu does have a dragon-type pet. President Lin said. At this moment, Legendary Zed and the other human legendaries, including the Dragon God of Dragon Palace City, also looked at Divine Source Legendary and Shiyu from countless distances. They didn't understand. Are you guys crazy? Legendary Zed said. He had just said it casually. Dong Huang really went to challenge? Moreover, it was that Shiyu? If Shiyu died, who would share the mechanical phantom beast technology? Legendary Zed was furious. At that moment, Shiyu became the center of attention. After Shiyu took a deep breath and heard that the other party indeed had thoughts about baby ginseng, he couldn't help but smile. In that case, then. He looked at the surrounding gods, at the World Tree clone, and at the Demon King Dragon. Dear gods, in this battle, I want to ask everyone. Protect the venue to prevent the battle fluctuations from leaking. Naturally. Of course. What do you want to do? Shiyu's words confused the divine beasts. With them around, as the organizers of the trial, they were naturally the judges. Battle fluctuations leaked? With their control, how could anything happen? Although the gods present were in an enfeebled state, their skill proficiency still existed. It was not a problem to defeat totems. As for the World Tree, it was the strongest demigod. In addition, there were so many demigods present. Not to mention the battle of overlords and normal totems. Even if two demigods fought, they could guarantee that the aftermath of the power would be controlled in an area range. At this moment, when he heard the assurance of the World Tree clone and the other big shots, Shiyu was completely relieved. Then let's fight. Shiyu grinned and looked at the Green Dragon Prince. Experience this battle well. This might be the closest you get to the target. He said something that no one could guess. Ooh? At the same time, it made the Green Dragon Prince's temper flare up. He looked at the human in front of him in disdain. Even if a demigod stopped it, it would shatter this guy's beast-taming space and grab that ginseng baby to eat. Chapter 962, 962 Green Dragon God Relocate, 2. 962 Green Dragon God Relocate, 2. Coupled with the Demon King Dragon Bone, it would stand at the peak after this battle. On the venue, Shiyu was calm and composed. The Green Dragon Prince's gaze locked onto it. Both parties were waiting for the Demon King Dragon's battle command. At this moment, the Demon King Dragon was also very curious. It wanted to see what other trump cards this Shiyu had. Fight! After a moment of silence, the Demon King Dragon roared. After the competition began, Shiyu and the Green Dragon Prince didn't say as much as before. In an instant, the Green Dragon Prince erupted with all its might, wanting to instantly kill Shiyu and not give him a chance to summon his pet. Boom! Its figure and the contractor's figure attacked Shiyu at the same time. On the spot, there were still after images of the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor. Their main bodies had already appeared in midair and headed straight for Shiyu, turning into a beam of light. Ooh? Seeing this, Shiyu raised his head and looked in the direction where the Green Dragon Prince and the others attacked. A trace of blue and gradually golden light appeared in his gaze. A shocking spirit deterrent was released from Shiyu's eyes and hit the Green Dragon Prince's heart. Almost instantly, the expressions of the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor changed drastically. They stopped in midair and felt threatened, not daring to attack rashly. Spirit connection, Green Dragon roar. Roar! As they saw a golden light, the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor seemed to see a green divine dragon entrenched in the starry sky roaring in their spiritual world. At this moment, with a crack, their bloodlines rolled like boiling water. It actually sensed that its perfect bloodline that simulated a green dragon and fused with a dragon and a human was suppressed. An incomparably ridiculous feeling rose in their hearts. Impossible! With a roar that confused everyone, a huge purple summoning array with a radius of 100 meters appeared under Shiyu's feet. At the same time, the weather changed. The entire sky and world seemed to have darkened. It was still daytime just now, but at this moment, all light was stripped away. This ability to change the weather directly made the expressions of many creatures change. They realized that this was impossible for this to be the power of a monarch-level pet. No, it wasn't that there was no light at all. Although it was night, the sky was dotted with incomparably dazzling stars. These stars all flickered with shocking light. As they blinked and the purple summoning array appeared, an incomparably huge body outlined the starlight and connected to a shocking image. Its appearance made the totem clans and the humans of the 7 countries reveal incredulous expressions. Roar! As Shiyu summoned it, with a dragon roar that resounded through the sky, no, even the starry sky, its huge body was displayed in the green-gold light. Its body was 10,000 meters long, and it occupied the starry sky. It looked like a dragon, had 2 golden horns on its head, and was covered in green scales. Its eyes and tail seemed to be burning with golden flames of spirit faith, and its image was extremely shocking. The huge aura revealed on its body directly made the voices of the overlords dry and their gazes explode. Even the Green Dragon Prince couldn't accept it. This? How could? Totem? Impossible. The totems, including the Tyrant Dragon King, sensed energy fluctuations that far exceeded ordinary overlords, no, those invincible overlords, on the Green Dragon buggy. It was as if Shiyu had summoned a totem. However, that was impossible. Everyone saw Shiyu's level clearly. It was definitely only level 6. At level 6, contracting an overlord above his level was already the limit. How could he contract a totem above his level? At this moment, everyone understood that they were wrong, very wrong. From the beginning to the end, Shiyu had never summoned his trump card. Sword Spirit? Blue Sea Sprite? Wind Kirin? Baby Ginseng? Although these pets were also very ridiculous, they were still at the monarch level. As for Shiyu, he had clearly contracted a pet above his level. Since they were all contracted above his level, why didn't Shiyu choose those to make them overlord level? It wasn't difficult to imagine. Everyone didn't believe that Shiyu couldn't find the resources to strengthen them. The only possibility was that Shiyu felt that this divine dragon was more trustworthy than the strength of the pets. Everyone indeed discovered the terrifying power of this divine dragon and its shocking power that was comparable to a totem level. At this moment, everyone present was more willing to believe that Shiyu had contracted an overlord above his level, but this overlord had battle power comparable to a totem. Plop! Looking at this shocking divine dragon, the Tyrant Dragon King, who was also evolving towards the concept of the green dragon like the Green Dragon Prince, also felt its pupils tremble and felt its bloodline being suppressed. At this moment, everyone opened their mouths wide. Yu Shu and the others' gazes exploded. Shiyu really contracted a dragon? Also, why did they feel that this dragon element image had such an affinity and familiar wave? What's this? The Green Dragon Prince shouted in shock. Putting aside its strength, why was its bloodline power suppressed by it? At this moment, Shiyu's figure had long disappeared from the ground and was teleported to its head by Buggy. Shiyu sat cross-legged on the dragon head, crossed his arms, and looked straight at the tiny dragonman below. Before he could speak, the legends of the Snowfield Nation and the beast tamers of the Snowfield Nation shouted in shock. Chapter 963, 963 Green Dragon God Relocate, 3. 963 Green Dragon God Relocate, 3. Green Dragon. It's the Green Dragon. At that time, the Green Dragon God in the starry sky. The legendary contestant of the Snowfield Nation, Irina, and her star god Bear looked at the Green Dragon in shock. When the god of war of Snowfield saw the Green Dragon image from the Space Bureau appear in Inatella, his expression was also filled with disbelief. The world was in turmoil because of the birth of the Green Dragon, just like yesterday. Although the Snowfield battle god knew that it was related to Dong Huang, he never expected that the one who completed all of this was not a new legendary or a titled legend, but a level 6 beast tamer who participated in the world tournament. A newbie. At this moment, even the Demon King Dragon was extremely shocked. It sensed a supreme power from this dragon. This power was not divine power or the most important power of the natural order to enter the mythical domain, but it was even richer than the power of the natural order. Power of faith? Moreover, it had also seen many powers of faith, but it had never seen such a special power of faith. It was as if this power of faith was not only born on Blue Planet, but also from the myriad worlds. It's even more complicated than the composition of the power of faith of the Blue Sea Sprite. This was a god of faith in the starry sky. Realizing this, the expressions of many gods changed. At the same time. Don't you know it? On the Green Dragon's head, Shiyu looked at the Green Dragon Prince below and said, "Aren't you evolving towards the concept of the Green Dragon God? Doesn't the entire Dragoman Empire believe in the Green Dragon God? You stole our power of faith." now that the main body has descended, you should understand what this means, right? Shi Yu's words resounded in the sky. It was like a god. It made the gazes of the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor explode. The creatures who knew the concept of the Green Dragon revealed incredulous expressions. What was Shi Yu talking about? It was impossible for anyone who could come to Inatella not to know what the Green Dragon was. It was the Eastern Guardian God, known as a supreme god on the same level as the dragon race's origin ancestral dragon. Countless dragons were trying to evolve towards the Green Dragon. The Dragonman Empire was the representative. As a popular contestant in the World Tournament, how could everyone not know its racial evolution path? And now, Shi Yu actually said that his pet was the Green Dragon's main body. How was this possible? Wasn't that a fictional god? Although there were many creatures who believed in the Green Dragon and had a long history, the concept of the Green Dragon had never turned into a creature. Since ancient times, there had been no creature that could evolve into a Green Dragon. You're courting death. At this moment, the Green Dragon Prince felt insulted and was furious to the extreme. No matter how strong Shi Yu's backing was, no matter how terrifying Shi Yu was, at this moment, it had the urge to kill Shi Yu. Because a wisp of fear appeared in his heart for no reason. Green Dragon in the sky. Great Dragon attack. At this moment, the Green Dragon Prince had already noticed that the guy in the sky was just deliberately mystifying. This huge body was clearly multiplied. He couldn't be frightened. Unlike dealing with the Sand Burial Dragon, this time, the Green Dragon Prince directly used its strongest sure-kill move. It wanted to crush this guy in front of it with absolute strength. Boom! It raised its hand, and the totem-level power erupted. The dragon energy that shocked the world gathered in its entire body, wanting to compete with the divine dragon in the sky. At this moment, Shi Yu sat down. The aura of the Green Dragon buggy was instantly like a reversed river of stars that was restrained under the eruption of the Green Dragon Prince. At that moment, the Green Dragon Prince's expression was extremely crazy. Beside him, the blood of the contractor boiled endlessly. As expected, it's just for show. As soon as it finished speaking, the audience seemed to have entered its perspective. However, in the next moment, as a sigh that contained ancient vicissitude sounded in the sky and starry sky, the expressions of the demigods instantly changed. It's just for show, you say? Then I'll let you see the true power of faith of the Green Dragon. Everyone's vision turned to the huge divine dragon in the sky and looked at Shi Yu, as if they could see the golden light in his eyes. It was a pair of golden eyes identical to the 10,000-meter-long Green Dragon. It was like the eye of a god circling in the ancient starry sky, staring at the small planet. They even saw the light that flickered higher than him and even the Green Dragon. An incomparably terrifying pressure descended from the universe. At this moment, Dragon Palace City, Dragonman Empire, Dong Huang, the Seven Islands. In countless places with traces of the Green Dragon, all the Green Dragon items that had existed hundreds of millions of years ago flickered with light. The mutation that caused Blue Planet to tremble previously happened again. In the Dong Huang audience, Yushu looked at the Green Dragon ancient pendant he was wearing in shock that was filled with light. He looked at the sky in disbelief and shock. This bastard Shi Yu was telling the truth. The Green Dragon god their family believed in actually became Shi Yu's pet? At this moment, Yushu smiled faintly and looked like he was crying. His values were even more shattered than when he saw Shi Yu's ridiculous performance previously. Not only it. Any powerful creature that could sense the power of faith could see the vast power of faith wrapped in the light that fell from the starry sky. Unbelievable. Everyone widened their eyes. Faith skill. And it was an attack-type faith skill. Chapter 964, a 964 Green Dragon God Relocate, 4. 964 Green Dragon God Relocate, 4. In a situation where most faith skills were support skills and reincarnation skills, attack-type faith skills were too rare. Moreover, it was a faith skill that could mobilize such a terrifying power of faith. Dragon, Star, Group. As Shi Yu's voice fell, all the spectators were stunned. This was because in an extremely short period of less than 0.1 s, the light in the sky revealed its full appearance. It was a green-gold light that looked like a meteor. It was like a divine dragon that had descended from the starry sky. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, coming from the starry sky with an incomparably terrifying pressure. Looking carefully, the so-called dragon form was just flames produced by its friction with the atmosphere, and its main body was a small asteroid. Shiyu and Buggy had already tried their best to control the power. They had only summoned one asteroid. However, that 100-meter-long asteroid still made the pupils of the World Tree clone and the divine beasts constrict, and their auras rose steadily. At this moment, they finally understood why Shiyu was so concerned about the security of the venue. Even the World Tree clone was awakened by the fear of the meteorite hitting Blue Planet countless times. Impossible! In fact, from the moment light appeared in the starry sky, the huge pressure from the Dragon Star Group and the Green Dragon Roar had already locked onto the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor. Their expressions were shocked, and their gazes were incredulous. They felt that their entire bodies were trembling. The huge skill condense floated in their hands, but they couldn't release it because their bodies were trembling. Green Dragon God. At this moment, no matter how slow the Green Dragon Prince's reaction was, it understood that the Green Dragon Divine Dragon Shiyu sat on seemed to really be the Green Dragon God that it had evolved towards as a target. An indescribable greyish-white color appeared in its pupils. No, at that moment, the Tyrant Dragon King suddenly reacted. Its gaze was filled with disbelief. It directly shattered the void and wanted to save the Green Dragon Prince, but the meteorite from the starry sky not only countered the Green Dragon Prince, but even the Tyrant Dragon King, who was also evolving towards the concept of the Green Dragon, also felt a fatal threat at this moment. Its gaze was shocked. If it were other dragons, even the previous Flame Dragon King wouldn't be countered like this. They could only blame themselves for encountering the main body as pseudo-green dragons. Boom! The meteor fell, leaving traces of tearing space, as if it had divided Blue Planet into two, making the current Inatella look like a shattered starry sky. In the eyes of the audience, the huge meteorite directly fell towards the Green Dragon Prince in midair. The unique skill it condensed in its hand was instantly obliterated into energy light the moment it came into contact with the meteorite. As for itself, under its incomprehensible shocked gaze, its body was crushed by the huge meteorite. It could only support the huge asteroid weakly with its hands. What made the hearts of the contestants and spectators stop was that even if the meteorite had yet to land, the aftermath of the power it brought seemed to be a totem-level attack. It was extremely shocking. At this moment, not only the Green Dragon Prince, but all the contestants of the World Tournament suddenly felt a life-and-death crisis. This guy! What the hell? Does this kid want to destroy this island? In the incomparable commotion, everyone saw the 7 gods and the World Tree clone standing in 4 directions, surrounding the entire venue where the meteorite fell. A shocking divine power erupted from their bodies. It formed a huge barrier, isolating the venue inside. Under countless shocked gazes, there was a loud boom, and the entire Inatella produced an incomparable earthquake. At the same time, a monstrous tsunami almost instantly rose in the sea around Inatella Island. There were even dazzling light fluctuations that shot into the sky, piercing through the sky and shattering the dark starry sky, returning the world to daytime. Only the extremely shocked Green Dragon God and the young beast tamer sitting cross-legged on his head pretended to be calm as they looked down. In this attack, the Green Dragon Prince and its contractor had already disappeared. A bottomless pit appeared on the ground in the area protected by the 8 big shots. The depth was unknown. 10 meters, 100 meters, and 1,000 meters. Many powerful creatures sensed it in a hurry and shock, but they didn't know the depth. At this moment, the eyes of the Tyrant Dragon King, who was also stunned just now, gradually recovered their clarity. Right on the heels of that, it was incomparably furious and shocked. In contrast, the Dragon God of Dragon Palace City, the Black Dragon ruler of the Dragon Empire, and even the totem half-gods of the other factions looked at this scene in disbelief. That attack just now. That attack just now. It directly crushed the Green Dragon Prince into ashes. Not a trace of aura or hair was left. A solid totem level was directly killed in one hit. As if it was nothing. At this moment, be it the totem country or the 7 countries, it was difficult to accept. No matter which creature it was, their hearts were shocked. Buggy's huge dragon eyes looked down. At this moment, like Shi Yu, it was very high. It felt the shocked emotions from all directions. The green silkworm, had already grown to the point where it could kill totems. Not long ago, it was just dreaming of becoming a green dragon soaring in the sky. And now, its dream had become reality. Roar! A shocking dragon roar spread through the sky. It was very difficult to imagine that such a terrifying creature was actually the pet of a level 6 beast tamer. How can this brat be so strong? The 7 Islands Valkyrie's gaze was shocked. When, the Elven Empress of Tingxiang had no idea about Shi Yu's pet. It's actually him. At this moment, the people from the Dragon Palace, the Sea Dragon King, and the others finally knew where the origin of the change in the faith of the world's green dragon was. Now that this scene had already happened, no matter how difficult it was to accept the truth, everyone had to admit that what Shi Yu said just now was not a lie. His contracted pet, was actually really the green dragon god. That fictional god actually appeared and even became a human pet? This was simply more difficult for these dragons to accept than Shi Yu creating a mechanical phantom beast. A level 6 body, destroying totems. Was he still human? The entire Inatella was still swaying. The Gem Cat, the Ice Dragon King, and the other totems were even trembling in fear. They didn't understand why Shi Yu, or rather Buggy, had become so ridiculous. This didn't make sense. Under the shock, only Divine Source Legendary, President Lin, and the others were feeling their hearts bleed. As people who knew the conditions for the release of the Green Dragon Faith skill, they wanted to know how much faith power this attack had consumed. Although this paywall attack was satisfying, it consumed power of faith that was difficult to replenish in the short term. Gulp! At this moment, the contestants and audience of Dong Huang looked at the crack under their feet. The ground was still trembling, and they looked at Shi Yu on the green dragon again. It wasn't just them. At this moment, the people who thought that Shi Yu was overestimating himself by challenging the Green Dragon Prince just now only wanted to slap themselves. Ha! Ha ha ha! This Shi Yu indeed liked to do things that ordinary people couldn't do. In short, he was inhumane. Countless people's eyes were filled with shock. So, were his footsteps really unstoppable? At that moment, all the contestants of the World Tournament, even the totem rubber tree at the origin place, felt their bodies go weak. They took a step back, completely unwilling to meet this Shi Yu in the main competition. Moreover, this was the case for it, let alone the overlords who were still very far from the totem realm. Although the pressure the Green Dragon Prince gave them was great, Shi Yu was already a kind of trembling that came from the depths of their hearts just by seeing him. Sorry. That guy was too strong. I could only use this move. At this moment, the culprit behind all of this, Shi Yu, slowly landed on the ground alone as the Green Dragon's figure disappeared. He apologized to the divine beasts in all directions. Really, the Green Dragon Prince was too strong. He couldn't defeat it without faith and money. But it looked like Inatella was fine. Everyone was happy, everyone was happy. F***CK. The divine beasts looked at Shi Yu in shock and were already speechless. It couldn't understand what was going on in the future at all. The Demon King Dragon, who had thought highly of the Green Dragon Prince just now, was already stunned by Buggy. Its perception was definitely not wrong. That wasn't the dragon of faith native to Blue Planet, but the Starry Sky Faith god. It didn't belong to this world. Monster, pervert. This was a human? And the pet he cultivated? It wondered if its dragon bones were worthy enough for him to use for evolution. Logo. Chapter 965, 965 Must Kill Target. 965 Must Kill Target. Green Dragon. Legend had it that it was a supreme god spirit that was on par with the ancestral dragon, the dragon god of creation. whether it was real or fictional was no longer important. At that time, when the green dragon displayed the power to crush totems, communicated, and mobilized the power of faith of countless green dragons, the green dragon completely revived from the myths and legends and descended into reality. The world trembled because of this. As the green dragon prince was insta-killed, the importance and fear of the various factions towards Xiyu reached the peak. After all, that was an instant kill at the totem level. In the entire blue planet, how many people had such strength? Even if a top-notch totem came, unless it was a top-notch totem close to a demigod like the Tyrant Dragon King and the Lava Empire's Juggernaut, they wouldn't dare to say that they could instantly kill the Green Dragon Prince. And all of this was done by Xiyu, who had yet to reach the legend level. Which demigod faction present had never fought a legendary beast tamer? Which legendary beast tamer didn't display shocking talent and strength from a low level? However, none of them were as ridiculous as Xiyu. Although the blue sea sprite was unbelievable, it was the strongest demigod that really existed. Although the revival of the mythical race's mechanical phantom beast, the Wind Kirin, was shocking, it also relied on the Kirin fossil. There were traces. However, Green Dragon. The Green Dragon had never taken the initiative to develop believers. It was all because its myths and legends were too powerful and it was the Eastern Guardian God. Therefore, many factions in the Totem era used the Green Dragon as a symbol of faith, as a political correctness, and as a badge to gather the hearts of the people and rope in an alliance. It represented a supreme symbol, just like the imperial authority. At this moment, what exactly was going on with the Green Dragon Xiyu sent? Countless people wanted to know. If the Green Dragon really existed, it would definitely be a top-notch mythical race. How could such a creature become a pet? Impossible, definitely impossible. The Tyrant Dragon King suppressed the urge to be furious and still didn't believe that Xiyu had contracted the Green Dragon. It had no choice but to suppress it because in an instant, since Divine Source Legendary, the Elven Empress, the Dragon Palace Dragon God, and many other legendary demigods directly locked onto it. Although it was known as the existence closest to a demigod and could give demigods a headache, it had no choice but to suppress its emotions in the face of multiple legendary experts. You really surprise me. The peerless dragon god walked out of the void. It didn't expect Xiyu to complete something that the Dragon Emperor couldn't even achieve in his life and evolve into a green dragon. As the cultivator of Emperor Wu's pet, although Ji Mengzhu mainly cultivated iron-eating beasts, she had also seen Emperor Shi's pseudo-green dragon. It had always been a pity that it couldn't evolve into the four holy beasts that could trigger the power of faith of Elder Ji. Emperor Wu had once said that if the holy beasts could evolve, no matter which one it was, their strength would far exceed the demon god iron-eating beast and they could easily crush Yunnan. Unfortunately, they didn't succeed in the end. What kind of creature is this? At that moment, the most confused was still the Demon King Dragon. Green Dragon? Why haven't I heard of it? Not to mention it, even the Boar God and the other gods were the same. This was also normal. The legend of the Green Dragon had started from the Totem era and had never stopped for hundreds of millions of years. It was normal for a god like it, who had been sleeping since the mythical era, not to know. Its huge dragon eyes looked at Xiyu below, extremely red. Green Dragon, the eastern god formed by the 7 constellations in the myths and legends. In the Long Totem era and the beast-taming era in the future, it was known as the peak dragon god, like the ancestors of the dragon race, the dragon god of creation. What? Impossible! Just as Xiyu finished speaking, the Demon King Dragon refuted. How great was the ancestral dragon? Even if it was divided into two, its two bodies still had the divine power to create and destroy the world. The other gods couldn't accept it either. Wait a minute. Could it be that the Green Dragon was evolved from those dragons who left Blue Planet and went to the starry sky? Or could it be a god of another planet civilization? Its concept was brought back by the creature that returned to Blue Planet? In the future, that's indeed how it spread, Xiyu said. But it's generally believed that the Green Dragon is a fictional god. At this point, the Demon King Dragon's expression softened. Fictional god? However, it didn't completely ease up. The Boar god, Xianming, and the other gods recalled the special power of faith just now. Shi Yu said, therefore, just like how many dragons want to return to their ancestors, there are also many creatures who want to transform into dragons and evolve into green dragons. In the totem era and the beast-taming era, countless legendary and demigods have done this. However, they all failed. And I succeeded. Shi Yu's words shocked the hearts of all the members of the 7 countries and totem factions. An unbelievable strange emotion rose in their hearts. Indeed, no one believed that a dragon god like the Green Dragon really existed and had become a human pet. Being able to mobilize the power of faith was secondary. The most important thing was that the Green Dragon itself was the image of a supreme god spirit. However, if a human beast tamer cultivated a pet to evolve into a green dragon and could barely mobilize the power of faith of the Green Dragon, then that was completely unacceptable. Why did this guy say such a terrifying thing so calmly? On the 7 islands, a dragon tamer from the Green Dragon God Shrine had a stunned expression. The Demon King Dragon opened its mouth slightly. So, Shi Yu had materialized and cultivated a fictional god comparable to the ancestral dragon into a real creature. Chapter 966, 966 Must Kill Target, 2. 966 Must Kill Target, 2. With conceptual faith, becoming a spirit and becoming a god was not impossible. The Boar god, Xianming, and the others thought of the Blue Sea Sprite. The Blue Sea Sprite believed in becoming a spirit, but... However, there was actually still an intrinsic difference. That was, the Blue Sea Sprite was a creature born on Blue Planet and relied on Blue Planet's existence. However, the concept of the Green Dragon was made up of the 7 constellations of the East. How vast was that concept? Even if Blue Planet was thrown into it, it was only a small planet. They finally knew why the power of the Green Dragon was so special. It was because at this moment, it couldn't be considered a native creature of Blue Planet at all. Even if its original body was born on Blue Planet, because of the complicated power of faith, it had already become a cosmic faith god, a cosmic life form. Such a life form had a huge characteristic, which was that it was not restricted by the power of laws on Blue Planet. It could fly freely into the starry sky, survive in the universe, find a suitable place, and enter the god domain. Blue Planet's race level was no longer suitable to describe its potential. Inatella fell silent again. Well. At this moment, Shi Yu was standing at the edge of the huge pit. Seeing that there was no movement, he couldn't help but say in all directions, "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge the 5th trial?" His words echoed in everyone's hearts. Suddenly, everyone remembered that they were still in the trial. However, as they looked at the bottomless pit and the destructive power caused by this attack that almost destroyed the island, the corners of countless totems and overlords' mouths twitched. There was no doubt that the power of this attack was already comparable to the forbidden weapons of the 7 countries. It could cause a fatal blow to a country. As a competition to choose the younger generation, what was wrong with such an attack? Gee! At this moment, everyone suddenly realized that Shi Yu had not retracted the Green Dragon. On his shoulder, a little green worm that emitted a powerful aura was looking around arrogantly. Its golden pupils contained the color of holy. Countless people opened their mouths wide. Wait a minute, don't say. Could it be that this little green worm was the Green Dragon just now? Holy shit! Yu Shu and the others who were familiar with Shi Yu were even more shocked. Don't tell them that Shi Yu's Green Dragon was evolved from the green silkworm that helped Shi Yu dominate the class assessment. Yu Shu, I was beaten by the Green Dragon? This didn't make sense at all. No, we can't compete with it. At this moment, no matter what changes happened, the dragon's expressions were filled with horror. The Green Dragon Prince was a lesson. Who knew if Shi Yu would summon another meteorite? Who would have thought that the Green Dragon Prince would be directly killed not long after being arrogant? You? At this moment, the Demon King Dragon was completely convinced. Did Shi Yu know what kind of power he had displayed just now? Not to mention ordinary totems, even revived gods like them would have to spend some effort to shatter that meteorite in their current enfeebled state. Otherwise, the gods wouldn't have been so shocked just now. At that moment, the Demon King Dragon was directly numb. Just now, it was still thinking that no matter what, it couldn't hand the dragon bone to the repeater. But now, looking at the situation, it didn't seem like any dragon was a match for Xiyu and the creature named Green Dragon. This situation was unsolvable. Looks like there's no one else. Seeing this, the Demon King Dragon was extremely uneasy. Hey, human kid, looks like no one is competing with you anymore. But are you sure you want my inheritance? At this moment, the Demon King Dragon asked a question that it wasn't confident in. Even if a starry sky faith god didn't cultivate any power of the natural order, it was possible to find another ability to break through to the divine level in the starry sky. On the contrary, fusing with the evolution of the dragon bones left behind in his previous life would conflict with the current path. Xiyu? Was he willing? Of course. Xiyu smiled. If he wanted it, he definitely wanted it, but whether he used it or not was another matter. For example, he couldn't use the 9-colored divine light of the holy divine deer now, but he could let Teacher Cat use it. There was also the horned demon divine stone from before. Xiyu also planned to see if it suited his taste after waking up, including this Demon King Dragon bone. If he didn't need it, he could give it to others. Speaking of which, he seemed to have promised Mother Dragon to invest a legendary resource. After the world tournament ended and he had strength, he would repay it double. Wasn't this resources? Mother Dragon took such good care of him, so he couldn't be stingy. Investing with legendary resources to return mythical resources. Even if Mother Dragon didn't want Dark Element resources, Xiyu could completely use the Dragon Bone to exchange for other Dragon Element and Ice Element resources. At that time, bringing a mythical race, an ice dragon with the strength of a demigod, to transmigrate to ancient times to see Mu Huiyin and Emperor Shi could also make Mother Dragon look better. Okay. Then, it's yours. The Demon King Dragon's heart twitched. It didn't expect that in the end, it still handed the inheritance to the person it didn't want to give it to the most. However, it had to admit that the other dragons present were all trash compared to Xiyu's Green Dragon. Buzz! A black light flashed. A dragon bone was taken out of the mythical ruins by the Demon King Dragon and floated in the sky. Xiyu's psychic power locked onto it and stored it in his beast-taming space. At this moment, the various factions were completely speechless. There were a total of 7 trials, and now, a total of 5 had already fallen into Xiyu's hands. Chapter 967, 967 Must Kill Target, 3. 967 Must Kill Target, 3. While Divine Source Legendary, President Lin, and the others were excited, they were also worried. Ayo, this time, Dong Huang was going to pull the hatred of the entire world. However, only a fool wouldn't take divine-level resources. They believed that with Xiyu's current potential, he would definitely be nurtured by the World Tree as Blue Planet's trump card. Therefore, Dong Huang hugged the World Tree's thigh and was not afraid of any faction. Human. Just as Xiyu put away the Dragon King bone and Inatella was left panting, the golden giant bull god in the sky revealed an excited expression. How many meteors can you summon just now? Looks like the power is pretty good. Its entire body flickered with light, and its huge bull body turned into the image of a humanoid bull. It rubbed its fists and said, "My hand is a little itchy. Find a suitable place later and let me warm up." It must be very satisfying to smash a few meteorites like that. What? At this moment, as the Golden Bull God spoke, many factions looked at the battle god in the Western myths and legends in a daze. Everyone was shocked. What was this god trying to do? It wanted to warm up with the meteorite just now? The corners of their mouths twitched. They felt that these gods were also very inhumane. If these words were said by any non-demigod totem, they would sneer. However, the one who said this was the Western god of battle. They only felt that this god's strength was unfathomable. My trial is this. Whoever can please me with battle and let me have my fill will have my inheritance. Have you forgotten the order? At this moment, the Golden Bull God was speaking excitedly. Beside him, the plant-type god spoke. Upon hearing that, the Golden Bull God was stunned and revealed a bored expression. It should be my turn next. The plant-type god looked at the silent World Tree clone. At this moment, the World Tree clone already felt that there was no need to continue the World Tournament. Could it be that these factions still wanted to continue fighting after seeing Shiyu's strength? In any case, it no longer wanted Shiyu to fight. If it attacked a few more times, Inatella would probably be smashed. The key was that it couldn't prohibit Shiyu from using it. After all, this was the Green Dragon's skill. The World Tree was already thinking about repairing the venue. My trial is very simple. It's a hunting competition limited to plant-type creatures. It will test your battle determination and strength. Opportunities are everywhere. I'll create a huge hunting barrier. Inside, I'll place a few totem-level space worms and countless overlord-level space worms. They're all reserve food I hunted in the invasion war. They're already dead. I'll temporarily revive them for a moment. You'll become their prey. At the same time, they're also your prey. Every one of them has been modified by me into nutrients that contain powerful life essence. After killing one, the life essence will increase your strength without any side effects. At the same time, by hunting the plant-type creatures with the greatest number and quality of enemies, you can finally obtain my inheritance. At this moment, as the plant god mentioned its trial, the boar god and the other gods looked at it. Especially the boar god, who was drooling. They didn't expect this guy to have stock. What? As the plant-type god said its trial rules, the plant-type overlords were immediately excited to the extreme. Trial of conscience. This was obvious. All those who participated in this trial had soup to drink. Even if they couldn't obtain the final inheritance, they could still obtain enough power by killing the enemy. Space worms. Things that could be regarded by mythical creatures as food reserves. How nutritious would that be? And the previous boar god also used the space worm as food. This clearly looked like a great supplement. The plant overlords and even the rubber totems were extremely excited. Oh! At this moment, Shiyu's eyes lit up when he heard the final two trials. It sounded like he could participate? Be it the plant trial or the Golden Bull god who wanted to fight him, he met the requirements of the trial. It was just that the upper limit of the difficulty of these two trials seemed to be relatively high. It was probably not that easy to perfectly clear. Wait a minute. At this moment, as the plant-type god mentioned the trial, Shiyu suddenly thought of a problem. If he wrapped up the plant trial too, would it be bad? He would offend too many plant factions. It was fine if they offended the Dragon Empire and the Dragonman Empire, who had a feud with Dong Huang, but not every totem faction had a feud with Dong Huang. They could completely become friends. For example, the Infinite Sea region and the Ghost Sea had the possibility of becoming allies of Dong Huang because of the Blue Sea Sprite. Shiyu thought for a moment. Why don't he let the other participants hunt the Overlord-level space worm? He let Baby Ginseng be in charge of dealing with the totem-level space worms and heavily injuring a few. This way, he could still give them a favor and let the overlords hunt them easier. As expected of him. He was really a good person. When the time came, he could make another group of friends. No. Shiyu's expression turned serious again. Wait a minute, he was a good person, but when this group of participants saw that Baby Ginseng was also participating in the trial, they wouldn't leave the space worm alone and come to get Baby Ginseng, right? After all, the temptation of the previous Ginseng baby was comparable to a divine-level resource. Forget it, if one couldn't even suppress that desire, it was not qualified to be Dong Huang's ally. It was just that he could only let plant-type creatures participate and couldn't kill them with Kai Tong. It was a loss, a huge loss. This was what troubled Shiyu the most. It didn't match his original goal of fishing. At that moment, all the factions were immersed in the rules of the plant hunting trial and were relatively excited. However, among them, the gazes of the Black Dragon Juggernaut and the Tyrant Dragon King ruthlessly landed on Shiyu. When they saw Shiyu's happy expression, they found it unbelievable. Wait a minute, this bastard didn't want to use that ginseng baby to participate in this trial, right? Their eyes were red as they suddenly had a thought. As long as Shiyu dared to let baby ginseng participate in this trial, they would make Shiyu pay the price. Find an alliance and ask them to cooperate with the space worm to kill Shiyu's ginseng baby in the trial and let Shiyu suffer the pain of losing his pet. Since Shiyu dared to kill their people. In that case, they also wanted Shiyu's pet to pay the price with its life. They didn't believe that the supplement race's monarch-level ginseng baby could be very strong. Chapter 968, 968 Time Element. 968 Time Element. A plant-type god was called the Eternal Divine Tree. After introducing the trial rules, it looked at Shiyu. It didn't have the strange temper of the Demon King Dragon. It didn't matter who the human who finally obtained his inheritance was. However, Shiyu had obtained 5 inheritances in a row, so it was inevitable that the Eternal Divine Tree would feel a little complicated. Therefore, it looked at Shiyu, who was watching the show beside it, and asked, "Human, you've already obtained 5 trial inheritances. Don't tell me you also plan to participate in my trial?" It remembered that Shiyu really had a plant-type pet. Although that pet was only at the monarch level, it had power comparable to divine-level resources. Its battle power shouldn't be bad. At this moment, with the Eternal Divine Tree's question, Inatella Island was silent. Ah. The totem-level contestant, Ren, looked at Shiyu with a pained expression, his eyes filled with fear. No way, again? It was a little panicked now. Anyone who encountered a competitor of 5 consecutive championships would be very panicked, all right? Shiyu indeed had a plant-type pet, but wasn't that a supplement race? Its battle power must be very poor. In order to avoid becoming food for the space worm, it had to stay at home obediently. At this moment, the Rubber Divine Tree had already made a decision. If its strength couldn't increase greatly in this plant trial, it would definitely have to surrender when it encountered Shiyu in the main competition. It didn't want to be smashed to death by the Green Dragon meteorite. Therefore, this plant-type trial was its only chance to change its fate. Although it felt that Shiyu didn't have the right to compete with it, after watching 5 trials in a row, the Rubber Divine Tree asked itself honestly. It was also afraid of a freak like Shiyu. It was afraid that he would cause trouble again. When the Eternal Divine Tree asked this, countless gazes, regardless of their status, looked at Shiyu, who had an innocent expression. Shiyu smiled and said, "Although it's not good to take so many trial inheritances in a row, but I really seem to have the ability to participate in this trial. My ginseng baby is also very strong. Although it's a supplement race, it's not a big problem to fight above its level. The Crown Rubber Divine Tree. Bastard, get lost. The Eternal Divine Tree." "All right then," the Eternal Divine Tree said indifferently. As for Demon King Dragon and the other divine beasts, they looked at the many totem countries without minding the trouble. That gaze seemed to be saying, "How can you tolerate this?" As the plant-type god, the Eternal Divine Tree, finished introducing the trial rules, undercurrents surged in Inatella. Apart from the fact that plant-type participants could participate in the trial to hunt the space worm and would definitely cause many factions to compete, it was also related to the divine-level inheritance replenished by the Eternal Divine Tree. The candidate who hunted the most enemies and the highest quality would obtain the divine-level inheritance, the Eternal Flower. The user of the Eternal Flower could increase their lifespan by 10,000 years, and their life force would be strengthened to the divine level. The user would no longer decrepify naturally and maintain their peak state. Even humans could use it. As soon as this inheritance was announced, the participants became even crazier. Even Shiyu was slightly moved. He felt that he could use it for baby ginseng to study. Origin. It's time for you to return the favor. That Shiyu is too much. He doesn't take you seriously at all. In the alternate space where the half-god Juggernaut, the Genesis Tree god, was located, the void was torn apart. The huge black dragon Juggernaut and the tyrant Dragon King descended together. Seeing these two experts descend, the Genesis Tree god's expression changed as it looked at the black dragon Juggernaut. 200 years ago, at the critical moment of your reincarnation, you owed my Dragon Empire a huge favor. We helped you clean up your competitors. Now, it's time for you to repay the favor. Now, your origin region and Shiyu will definitely fight. Without the competence to get first place in the trial, will he participate in the trial? The bark of the Genesis tree god twitched. It was also extremely annoyed by this Shiyu. The eternal flower was a rare treasure for plant-type life forms. It was still hoping that the rubber tree could give it a few petals after winning the championship. In the end, Shiyu, this bastard, wanted to interfere again. Bullying trees was too much. Origin tree god, the world has suffered for a long time. Do you think the origin land can compete with that green dragon in the main competition? This trial is the only chance, the tyrant Dragon King said. In the trial, cripple it. We will all support the origin land to obtain the world tree inheritance. As plant-type creatures, you are the orthodox. Moreover, don't forget that during the Totem War, the origin land also invaded Dong Huang as an invader. When Dong Huang rises, do you think the origin land can stay out of it? I know what you mean, the Genesis tree god said. But these aren't enough. If you want our contestants to take action, you have to pay an additional resource. They had to pay more. After all, Shiyu's potential was there, and the Genesis tree god didn't want to casually provoke him. Sure. The Tyrant Dragon King and the Black Dragon Juggernaut agreed immediately. A moment later, the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree received the summoning of the Genesis Tree God. Lord Genesis Tree God. The Rubber Divine Tree had already guessed the other party's intention of summoning it. Rain, you should understand your situation, right? The Genesis Tree God said to the Rubber Divine Tree. Your only advantage among the totem creatures in the origin land is that you have a compatible human contractor. If you miss the opportunity of this world competition, after returning to the origin land, you will quickly return to ordinary. You have no hope of becoming a demigod in your life, let alone breaking through to the mythical domain after the mythical revival. Chapter 969, 969 Time, 2. 969 Time, 2. This world competition is your only chance. You have to take down the next trial no matter what. Apart from that, if you can do it, I'll allow you to devour Shiyu's pet. The Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree, Ren, was shocked. But that's Shiyu. If you're afraid, you can never become a big shot. That ginseng baby, together with the space worm as nutrients and the eternal flower. You can almost 100% obtain the strength of a top-notch totem. If you can heavily injure that Shiyu in this trial, even if he sends out the green dragon in the main competition, you might not necessarily be his match. And after winning the world tournament and obtaining the blessings of the world tree, the two of you don't have to be afraid of Dong Huang at all. Moreover, our origin land isn't afraid of the 7 countries at all. The difficulty this time isn't high. Even if a monarch-level plant-type creature has a certain amount of battle power, it's impossible for it to reach the strength of a totem. Besides, you're not alone. At that time, many totem factions will assist you. Even those space worms can indirectly become your help. The eyes of the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree, Ren, and its contractor, Kani, flickered. Can I eat that ginseng baby? In the entire Inatella, there was almost no creature that didn't covet baby ginseng. Even the owl and gem cat from the same camp drooled when they saw the ginseng baby. Even the divine beasts woke up because of its fragrance, let alone the enemies of the totem faction. What suppressed their desire was basically Shiyu's strength and Dong Huang's strength. However, the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree didn't expect that the Genesis Tree God would actually let it take a gamble, eat that ginseng baby, and heavily injure Shiyu. For a moment, the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree's thoughts stormed. In the end, the desire to become a god defeated everything. The bold bloat to death, and the timid starve to death. I'll give it my all. In the Dong Huang area. When the Eternal Divine Tree created the trial barrier, Shiyu was facing the reminder of Divine Source Legendary and President Lin. You have to be prepared. In this trial, you're very likely to be targeted by the various large factions together, especially when your ginseng baby reveals the aptitude of a divine-level supplement. The Black Dragon Juggernaut has probably already found the Genesis Tree God. The two seniors were a little nervous. After all, they couldn't face the trial with the Green Dragon and the Panda. Although baby ginseng wasn't weak either, it was still not very stable. Self-destruction. Shiyu definitely wanted to self-destruct to obtain the greatest benefits of the trial. They knew that baby ginseng's self-destruction had long had the battle record of killing totems. The black meteorite yak was killed by baby ginseng's self-destruction. However, Shiyu should think about how to dodge the self-destruction damage first. Yes, I will, Shiyu said. It's also a good opportunity to see who has ideas about us. That's true. The corners of President Lin's mouth twitched. We're afraid that your ginseng baby won't be able to control its crowd control well. You saw it too. That trial barrier isn't big. If the participants of the 7 countries and even you are also blown up, then Shiyu, Sigma, degree, underscore. On Dong Huang's side, only Shiyu and Lu Qingyi were qualified to participate. They were the only two who contracted plant-type pets. However, Lu Qingyi's imperial concubine flower was only at the monarch level. Even with mythical revival and spiritual psychic power, it could at most display the strength of an overlord. The risk of participating was too high. Therefore, Lu Qingyi didn't plan to participate. But in the other 6 countries, there might not be many beast tamers who contracted plant-type pets. At that time, if Shiyu killed them all, it would be troublesome. Woo! Shiyu was stunned. On my side, I'm confident of avoiding the damage of the self-destruction. When the time comes, when I attract monsters, I'll also control it to only attract space worms. But if contestants from other countries still court death and want to join in the fun, I indeed can't control it. It's fine if the contestants of the totem country want to target me together and blow me up together, but as for the 7 countries, if they're here to help me resist the enemy and enter the self-destruction range, I'll cry to death. Shiyu cried. Therefore, I want you to tell the legends of the other 6 countries. When the time comes, stay away from me. Divine Source Legendary was silent. I should go and talk to the legends of other countries first. A moment later, Dong Huang's mechanical legendary Divine Source pulled up the mental network that connected the legendaries of the 7 countries. He started the online meeting. Divine Source, what are you doing? Don't tell me he's here to ask for help. Shen Feng's legendary Zed snorted. In his opinion, Divine Source calling them at this time was most likely because it was afraid that Shiyu would be targeted in the next trial. They probably wanted to ask their contestants to help Shiyu when the time came, so they could party up and farm monsters together. Divine Source Legendary, I'm just discussing the next trial with everyone. As expected, Legendary Zed said. Sure, but you have to share the technology of the mechanical phantom beast without holding back. Divine Source Legendary? Let me finish first. I don't know how many contestants are participating in the next competition, but I want to ask them. When the time comes, stay away from Shiyu. Shenfeng Mechanical Legendary, 7 Islands Valkyrie, Elven Empress of Tingxiang, Minghua Death God, Snowfield Battle God, Rongguang Hero King. Shiyu's ginseng baby is actually very strong. A few months ago, it successfully killed a Yun clan totem. Chapter 970 or 970 time, 3. 970 time, 3. The skills are very powerful. It's probably not inferior to that meteorite. And just like the meteorite of the Green Dragon just now, it's not easy to control crowd control. No, to be precise, it's definitely uncontrollable. I'm just worried that your contestants are too close to him and will be affected and suffer an undeserved disaster, so I came to remind you. That's it. I'm hanging up. Beep beep. The legendaries of the 6 countries were stunned. Wait a minute, what did this old kid just say? That monarch-level ginseng baby had killed the Yun clan totem a few months ago. What if *King joke? Boom. Soon, the Eternal Divine Tree created a huge tree barrier. The barrier occupied 1/10 of the island. The interior was lush with branches and leaves, and various strange plants grew. At this moment, if many contestants and spectators wanted to see the situation inside the barrier clearly, they could only fly into the sky and watch from the sky. Participants, come stand in front of me. At that moment, after creating the barrier and reviving the space worm, the Eternal Divine Tree spoke calmly and looked at the contestants of the various countries. Buzz. On the Totem Country's side, many contestants from the Plant Kingdom walked out. 1, 2, 3. Among them, transcendent life forms were all at the Overlord level, and human beast tamers were basically at the Legend level. Among them, the strongest was the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree from the Origin Place and the human beast tamer with the form of a tree sprite flying beside him. In a short moment, 28 Totem Country contestants responded to the 6th trial. However, on the 7 countries side, apart from Shiyu, who followed out, the other 6 countries didn't move for a long time. One by one, the contestants of the 6 countries stayed obediently in their country's area and didn't take a step forward. It was as if they didn't want to participate in the trial. At this moment, Dong Huang's Divine Source Legendary, President Lin, and Shiyu were stunned. What was going on? Why didn't they come over? It was a rare trial where all the trial challengers had a chance to eat soup. At that moment, the contestants from the other 6 countries who were qualified to participate in this trial had extremely complicated feelings. Because just now, the legendaries of their countries urgently transmitted their voices to tell them to give up this trial. We'll die. In any case, with the rubber totem tree around, the chances of obtaining the final inheritance were 0. Was it worth it to take the risk for a hunting game while they didn't know the strength of the feedback? It was better not to participate. Apart from Shiyu, all the beast tamers of the 7 countries gave up participating. This scene directly made the beast tamers of the Totem Country feel disbelief. They didn't understand what the 7 countries were up to. The beast tamers of the 7 countries also felt that it was unbelievable. They didn't expect that other countries would also give up the trial on a large scale. No, they had given up, but not completely. There was also a participant from the 7 countries. It was the first Shiyu to claim that he wanted to participate. However, could Shiyu really do it? After all, their legends had all said that this trial was life and death. Many totem-level space worms, in addition to the totem-level rubber divine tree, indeed didn't look like a good place. In the 7 Islands area, with the Phoenix Exhort tree, the Phoenix Court's Jie, who could also participate, became nervous for Shiyu. They didn't understand why the legendary of Dong Huang didn't persuade Shiyu. What's going on? At this moment, when they saw this strange phenomenon, the Totem countries suddenly felt a little panicked. Well, Lord Divine Spirit, I'm very sorry. I suddenly have a stomachache. Among the 28 Totem country contestants who had just responded, an ape that looked like it was made of wood suddenly turned pale and immediately said. It hurriedly dragged its contractor away from the trial point under the stunned expression of its country's totem. Strange, too strange. It didn't want to participate anymore. The Eternal Divine Tree. At this moment, the 6th trial that revealed a thick strange atmosphere made the Genesis Tree God, the Tyrant Dragon King, and the Black Dragon Juggernaut a little silent. They didn't know what was going on. It also made the determined Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree swallow its saliva and become a little nervous. Even the Eternal Divine Tree had a bad feeling. What were they doing? Soon, 9 of the 29 candidates who walked out withdrew from the competition one after another. This Jufang basically came with the mentality that it wouldn't be a loss to defeat an Overlord-level space worm and leave after getting some benefits. However, Shiyu was the only one participating in the competition from the 7 countries, in addition to the fact that the Dragon Empire and the Dragonman Empire had previously contacted them to deal with Shiyu together. It immediately made Jufang feel a little afraid. They kept feeling that something big was going to happen. They were afraid that they would be affected, so they chose to give up. Is anyone else leaving? The Eternal Divine Tree was completely speechless. Although the remaining 19 contestants were also a little nervous, because they had quests, they didn't dare to take the initiative to withdraw. Not bad. At this moment, Xiyu looked calm on the surface, but in his heart, he looked at the remaining 19 Totem Country contestants happily. With max-level psychic power and telepathy, he sensed faint killing intent on them. To Xiyu's surprise, after the torment of the Divine Source Legendary, the 6th trial directly became an amusement park between him and the Totem factions who wanted to hunt him. In that case, I'll send you into the barrier, the Eternal Divine Tree said in silence after taking a few more looks at Xiyu. It gradually understood what was going on. It wanted to see what kind of sparks could be created between these factions in the future. Chapter 971, 971 Time Element, 4. 971 Time Element, 4. Look! After the contestants gathered, strange trees that looked like man-eating flowers spat out strange insects with juice in their huge mouths. When they were just spat out, their bodies weren't big. They were at most a few meters long. However, as they fell to the ground, the bodies of the worms suddenly swelled. Zizizi! Moreover, indescribable sounds came from their bodies. In a short moment, the bodies of the largest worms swelled to dozens of meters tall. Their forms were very strange, and the characteristics of the insects were only a portion of the bodies. Their bodies contained the organs of various animals and plants, and their bodies seemed to be pieced together by more than 10 species. They were extremely terrifying. In the outside world, the contestants and audience didn't sense much strong energy fluctuations from them, but the life aura comparable to a totem level enveloped their bodies like a vast sun. There were a total of 5 totem-level space worms and 45 overlord-level space worms. So few! After discovering that there were only 45 overlord-level space worms, less than 100, the remaining trial challengers of the Totem Country instantly felt that it wasn't enough. The Rubber Divine Tree looked over and felt that it was enough to stuff the gaps between its teeth. However, if it contained life force, it didn't look that terrifying. Even the 5 totem-level space worms didn't look as powerful as the Green Dragon Prince who had been insta-killed just now. At this moment, when they discovered the unsatisfied expressions of the candidates, the corners of the mouths of the many gods led by the Boar God suddenly curled up. Hee. They don't seem to know what they're facing. A moment later, a total of 20 contestants were teleported to different positions in the trial barrier. At this moment, the teleportation of the Eternal Divine Tree was very particular. Every cultivator who had just entered the trial barrier had a cosmic worm moving its body in front of them. Their eyes were scarlet and dark green, and saliva dripped from their ferocious mouths, as if they were already hungry to the extreme. They were so hungry that they almost lost their minds. Space worm? Swoosh! One by one, the Overlord-level Great Light Flowers that had just entered released thousands of lights under the enhancement of the Beast Tamer's light element strengthening talent, attacking the evil creature in front of them that had a cockroach as the main body and the characteristics of many races, such as gorilla, willow tree, dragon, and phoenix. Boom 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 boom. Countless attacks landed. The space worm stood on the spot without moving at all. The moves caused a violent explosion on its body. In the rising smoke, it only continued to move its body and walk towards its prey with red eyes. The pupils of the Overlord and the Beast Tamer constricted. Ah! In a short moment, less than a few seconds after the trial began, a candidate was torn apart by the space worm and swallowed into its mouth. This scene made many spectators who were paying attention to the trial barrier in the outside world widen their eyes and cover their mouths. This situation also happened elsewhere. In an instant, 2 of the 20 groups of candidates who entered died and were eaten by the space worm. This made the hearts of the beast tamers from the 7 countries who didn't participate in the trial, as well as the beast tamers who had just left at the last minute, race. After all, the first batch of space worms the trial goers encountered was only at the Overlord level. The 5 totem level space worms were still searching for prey from afar. Quasi-totem level. At this moment, the experts watching the trial had deep gazes as they judged. The physical strength of each of the 45 Overlord-level space worms here was comparable to the totem level. The attacks of ordinary Overlords were no different from scratching an itch for them. Perhaps even if a top-notch overlord wanted to defeat these space worms, it would have to pay a heavy price. This was even if these space worms didn't have any other trump cards. Because of the ability to devour and evolve, the physical strength of the space worm race is enough to crush dragons and has perfect elemental resistance. Seeing this, the boar god said, although these revived space worms are in an extremely hungry and feeble state, in terms of strength, they are fully deserving ferocious beasts. If you underestimate them, wait for death. Oh right, it's worth mentioning that these space worms in front of us can only be considered soldiers in their huge race. They only have physical strength and don't master transcendent power. The really terrifying ones are those royal families. Their abilities are all comparable to divine skills. I hope we won't encounter each other in the future. Upon hearing that, the expressions of many experts from the factions changed. At this moment, there were trial challengers who basically couldn't resist the space worm and could only escape. There were also those who could barely fight the worms, and there were even those who could easily insta-kill overlord-level space worms. For example, the rubber divine tree in the Origin Land had an advantage 1 level higher. In addition to the strengthening of the beast tamer, it was still easy to deal with an overlord-level space worm that wasn't at its peak. Thunder? Heavy strike. With a boom, a rubber tree whip wrapped in lightning swung down in space, instantly smashing the centipede-like space worm in front of him. After dealing with the space worm, it disintegrated into a huge amount of life force that surged into the person's body. At this moment, be it the rubber divine tree or the tree sprite Carney, they felt that their lifespans had been strengthened for at least 10 years, as well as more than 1 million life force points. It was very unbelievable. Chapter 972, 972 Time Element, 5. 972 Time Element, 5. Not bad, not bad. The rubber divine tree's eyes lit up. If that was the case, as long as he defeated most of the space worms and ate that ginseng baby, he might really have a chance to have the strength of a top-notch totem. We have to find that Shiyu immediately. The rubber divine tree was very worried that Shiyu had provoked a totem-level space worm during the process of hunting the overlord-level space worm, causing that ginseng baby to be eaten by someone other than it. If that was the case, it would be a huge loss. Where's Shiyu? It wasn't just the rubber divine tree. As the teleportation continued, many people's gazes began to search for Shiyu. After all, everyone knew that many candidates definitely wouldn't let Shiyu's trial go so smoothly. This is the space worm. At this moment, Shiyu, who was in the barrier, also saw the space worm near him. It was a space worm that looked like a huge locust. Its body also contained the characteristics of various races. Bats, eagles, dragons. It was very strange. At the moment, it was staring at Shiyu and the others with bloodthirst. His entire body trembled. This was excitement. At the moment, the revived space worms only had the most instinctive desire to hunt and fight. Therefore, the only thing they could sense was whether the creature in front of them could provide them with huge nutrition after eating it. Without a doubt, Shiyu and the ginseng baby on his shoulder were rare supplements for the space worm in front of him. They were far more excited than the other space worms when they saw the other contestants. What will they do? At this moment, seeing that Shiyu and baby ginseng had encountered a cosmic worm that even top-notch overlords found difficult to deal with, the audience of the various countries became serious. If it were that green dragon, they believed that it should be able to win as easily as the rubber divine tree, but at this moment, Shiyu only had baby ginseng as a plant-type pet. Baby ginseng, light clearing cannon. Shiyu stood on the spot. Baby ginseng was still sitting on Shiyu's shoulder. Everyone saw that when the space worm in front of them turned into an afterimage and flew over, baby ginseng also raised its hand. Almost instantly, high-level skills such as the time fruit and clear sky were activated. The sun in the starry sky was even more dazzling. Baby ginseng's level had also reached the overlord level. Moreover, under the enhancement of the max-level sunny day, it released an energy storage beam that was also at the Tao proficiency. A ball of light the size of a marble and containing terrifying power instantly appeared in front of baby ginseng's fingertip. A dazzling light and surging energy suddenly spewed out, turning into an extended pillar of light that sent the flying cosmic worm flying. Crack! With a sound of its body shattering, the body of the space worm in the air caved in. It was suddenly sent flying by this pillar of light, smashing several huge trees. Seeing this, the contestants of the 7 countries widened their eyes. This was AF * King Monarch level supplement Ginseng Baby? In a single exchange, it repelled the space worm, forming a sharp contrast to the Overlord level Big Light Flower that scraped the space worm just now. However, not enough. Suddenly, some people quickly discovered that although the space worm was penetrated by a single attack and had considerable injuries on its body, it quickly flew up again without any major injuries. It looked at Shiyu and Baby Ginseng even more cruelly. Seeing this, Shiyu and Baby Ginseng pondered slightly. Its physical strength was indeed strong. No, Shiyu and the others' attacks can't deal a fatal blow to that space worm. However, the attack power can already cause greater damage and is already stronger than most contestants. It shouldn't be difficult to defeat the space worm after a battle, right? If it were in the past, no one would have dared to guess that a Monarch-level supplement pet could defeat an Overlord-level space worm. However, at this moment, they actually felt that it wasn't that difficult to accept. However, what stunned everyone was, Baby Ginseng, let's go. It would take too much effort to solve it. It wasn't worth it. He would wait to wipe them all out all at once. Without another word, Shiyu and Baby Ginseng activated the Earth Escape skill and burrowed underground together. In front of this locust-type space worm, they ran away. They ran away. They directly used Earth Escape to escape. Gee! Seeing this, not only was the audience stunned, but even the space worm was stunned. Then, it chased angrily, using its shocking strength to hit the ground and its sharp claws to burrow into the ground to chase after the food. But clearly, this worm wasn't good at digging holes, and it didn't have the genes of a race that was good at underground battles. It was more like an earthworm. He ran away? What's going on? Holy shit, what's going on? Shiyu chose to avoid the battle when facing an Overlord-level space worm, immediately stunning the contestants of the 7 countries. It also made the contestants of the Totem country look confused. Wait a minute. Please don't tell them that Shiyu's strategy in this trial was to watch the other contestants fight the space worms. Then, he would hide underground and find an opportunity to pick up scraps. At this moment, the legendaries of the other 6 countries even suspected that Divine Source was lying to them. A moment later, under everyone's stunned gaze, Baby Ginseng's figure appeared on the ground again. However, Shiyu's figure didn't appear again. It seemed like he was still underground. Shiyu had no choice. If he wanted to avoid the damage of the self-destruction but wasn't allowed to use equipment, he could only use Earth Escape and a certain safe distance from Baby Ginseng's main body. Chapter 973, 973 Time Element, 6. 973 Time Element, 6. Fortunately, under Ling's prior calculations, there wouldn't be any problems. At this moment, Baby Ginseng, who had let its clone slip away with Shiyu, stood on the ground and looked at the starry sky. It had to be it after all. Buzz! 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 In the next moment, the Ginseng baby, which was originally only the size of a radish, used the multiplication skill. Boom! Its originally small body instantly multiplied to more than 100 meters tall. At the same time, a shocking fragrance was released by Baby Ginseng. Who? In an instant, this fragrance swept in all directions like a tornado. Wait! What's that Ginseng baby doing? Where's Shiyu? Roar! Roar! At that moment, demonic cries rose and fell in the trial barrier, making many people not believe their eyes. This Ginseng baby was taking the initiative to release its nourishing power to attract the enemy. Those from the Donghuang region, White Brook, Jiao Xian, and the others who had watched the National League were not unfamiliar with Baby Ginseng's behavior at this moment. However, it was precisely because they weren't unfamiliar that they were very shocked and confused.
She was pulling monsters again?
Why? It was fine if they pulled monsters in the National League, but they were all low-level Transcendent and Commander-level monsters. Shiyu and the others could easily defeat them with 11's deterrence. But now, there were 6 totems and dozens of top-notch overlords here. Was Shiyu crazy, or was Baby Ginseng crazy? Even with the Green Dragon's previous attack, it wasn't that easy to deal with so many enemies together, right? Moreover, only Baby Ginseng could fight right now. At this moment, not to mention the Totem Country and the various divine beasts, even Dong Huang's own people, apart from a very small number of people who knew, had no idea what Shiyu wanted to do. Is he crazy? Originally, they were hoping that Ren and the other hunters would quickly find Shiyu's Tyrant Dragon King, Black Dragon Juggernaut, an Origin Tree god. When they saw Shiyu's Ginseng baby suddenly take the initiative to attract the enemy, they couldn't help but be shocked. Over there. At this moment, as Baby Ginseng changed, dozens of space worms in the trial barrier looked in a direction with burning eyes. Including the 5 powerful totem-level space worms. Although they were evaluated by the Boar god as little soldiers among the space worms, with the powerful strength of the Overlord-level space worm just now as a comparison, no one dared to underestimate these guys. Even if it was a rubber divine tree, could it deal with one alone? The audience outside had a lot of questions. However, at this moment, this group of monsters, and even the group of Totem Country contestants, including the rubber divine tree, looked in the direction of Baby Ginseng's mutation. They were all attracted by the fluctuations it released. Not good. Especially the rubber divine tree, Ren. When it saw this scene, it accelerated in the direction of the Ginseng baby, afraid that it would be eaten by those cosmic worms. After releasing a wave of fragrance that filled the trial barrier and became the source of all hunger, Baby Ginseng quickly returned to its normal size. It began to hide underground, waiting for a large number of enemies to gather. Such a strange scene made many factions' expressions solemn. At this moment, they could only analyze that Baby Ginseng might want to attract a large number of enemies to fight a chaotic battle and reap the benefits. As for the other possibilities, no one could analyze them. Do you want to win with tactics? Even the divine beasts came to this conclusion. No one would think in the direction where Baby Ginseng wanted to kill all the enemies alone. Arbar, oh no, oh no. At this moment, when it saw a large number of space worms and so many totems and overlords gathering, the prediction owl was the most panicked. It felt that Shiyu's strategy of luring the enemy and guiding them to kill each other might fail. Because this was too similar to its prophecy. Baby Ginseng would be chased by a bunch of totems and overlords. Then, right on the heels of that, it would be eaten by a totem. This? If its prophecy was accurate, Shiyu and the others would be in danger. No, he couldn't play like this. He would fail. What's wrong with you? At this moment, the gem cat saw the pale pupils of its old friend beside it tremble. No, this strategy is too dangerous. You'll be eaten, the owl said nervously. The gem cat, it's stable because it has to be eaten. The owl? It was eaten. In my premonition, Shiyu's Ginseng baby will probably be eaten by the totem. It is in danger. It's going to die. The prediction owl shouted in shock. It caused the surrounding beast tamers of Dong Huang to look at it one after another. Then, their expressions turned serious and their expressions changed. Although everyone knew that the premonition of the owl was unreliable at this moment. From the current situation, there was probably a high chance of verifying the prophecy the owl had just mentioned. No way. The expressions of Jiao Xian, Yin Jingfan, and the others changed. Meow, meow, meow. At this moment, Teacher Ying looked at the owl in shock. Wait, what did this old witch say? Baby Ginseng that had predicted Shiyu's pet would be eaten? Wait a minute, did the future prediction of the owl feed back its strength every time it succeeded? Suddenly, the gem cat looked at the prediction owl with a strange expression. At the moment. Soon, a huge group of space worms gathered. Facing such a huge group of space mutant insects, Ren and the other contestants of the Totem Country didn't dare to get too close. Chapter 974, a 974 Time Element, 7. 974 Time Element, 7. After all, it would be bad if this group of space worms targeted them. Could it be that that bastard wants to use others to kill us and use the space worm to deal with us? At this moment, the Rubber Divine Tree, Ren, thought of this possibility and couldn't help but be shocked and furious. This was clearly their plan. Shiyu had actually made the first move. However, weren't Shiyu and the others worried about attracting death if they used baby ginseng to lure these space worms? At that moment, with the 5 totem-level space worms in the lead, a large number of space worms had already gathered here. However, when they looked at the source of the fragrance that suddenly disappeared, they couldn't help but be extremely irritable. For the space worms that had no rationality and no transcendent power at this moment, although they had all their strength, it was still too difficult to find a ginseng baby that used the power of time and earth escape to hide its aura. Therefore, if used appropriately, this group of space worms could indeed be used as a saber to solve many difficult problems for baby ginseng. However, when it had the strength to destroy everything, it was very unnecessary to use someone else to kill him. Just as all the space worms were looking for baby ginseng suddenly appeared from the ground again. On the ground, baby ginseng condensed wings of light and slowly flew up, looking around. Moreover, it emitted a shocking fragrance again. In an instant, the space worms rioted. 100-meter-tall starry sky worm that looked like a natural disaster spider with dozens of dragon limbs quickly stepped on the ground and moved in the direction of the fragrance. Behind it, a large number of space worms chased after it. Why? Baby ginseng turned into light wings and turned to run. It flew in the sky and directly exposed itself to the space worms. At the same time, it also exposed itself to the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree and the others. Don't fall for it. Seeing this, the expressions of the Genesis Tree God and the others changed. That ginseng baby wants you to kill each other through itself. Don't fall for it. At this moment, anyone with eyes could tell that baby ginseng was using itself to lure the enemy to the Rubber Divine Tree. The various factions were very surprised that Shiyu, who had displayed invincible strength previously, would actually choose such a strategy. However, there was nothing he could do. Without the strength to crush everything, this seemed to be the best strategy. I won't be tricked. Seeing this, the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree revealed a disdainful expression and turned to leave first. However, in the next moment, its expression changed. A totem-level space-flying bug that looked like a shark directly overtook the huge spider at a shocking speed and approached baby ginseng. It opened its huge abyss mouth, wanting to devour baby ginseng in one bite. Yee! Help! In the sky, even if baby ginseng, who was waving the wings of light, used the time fruit to step into the overlord level, it still couldn't compare to the speed of the totem-level space worm. It directly shouted for help at the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree in the distance. Beside it, there were 5 totem-level space worms and dozens of overlord-level space worms eyeing it covetously. In this situation, even if it was its biological father or even a contractor, they might not necessarily risk their lives to save baby ginseng. However, under the rapid changes in the expression of the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree, it still suddenly stretched out its huge rubber arm and grabbed baby ginseng. No matter what, it didn't want such a delicious ginseng baby to fall into the mouths of these corpse worms. However, the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree dared to rely on its strength to stay behind at the last minute, but its allies were so frightened by the insect army that they suddenly retreated. Because of baby ginseng, the space worms quickly approached the Rubber Divine Tree, and baby ginseng was in the center of the battle between the two parties. The current situation was also extremely bad. Life and death. Boom! The vine whip of the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree was close to baby ginseng. But in the next second, what made the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree's gaze explode was that it was still a step slower. The shark-like space-flying bug's sharp mouth had already enveloped the sky above baby ginseng. At this moment, neither side could understand the development of this trial at all. Everyone could basically confirm that the ginseng baby was the main body of the ginseng baby. At that moment, baby ginseng was almost using its life to pull the monsters. However, before the two parties fought, it would die first. This strategy of sitting back and reaping the benefits didn't seem very proficient. Snatch! The Genesis tree god, who was still persuading the rubber divine tree not to fall into the trap just now, was immediately extremely anxious when it saw that baby ginseng was about to fall into the mouth of the space worm. He cursed at the rubber divine tree, not understanding why its movements were so slow. Damn it, faster! The fusion frequency of the rubber divine tree and the contractor had already reached the most intense moment, but their movements were still slower than the space worm. Everyone saw that baby ginseng was about to be devoured by the space worm. The world tree, the divine beast, the demigod, the legendress, and the contestants were all extremely serious. Ah! At this moment, the owl cried out in horror. It had predicted his friend's death. Bad luck, bad luck, bad luck, bad luck. What the hell are you shouting for? Beside him, the gem cat cursed. Just wait for the breakthrough. When it finished speaking, countless people looked at baby ginseng. It was about to be swallowed, this ginseng baby with extraordinary strength, this ginseng baby that didn't even have a beast tamer beside it. It suddenly smiled. Chapter 975 Time Element 8 975 Time Element 8. Its aura rose steadily. Energy points, 99,990,000. Firstly, the time fruit was activated to the maximum. A terrifying energy wave rose from its body. This change didn't make the rubber divine tree and the others care. They only felt that the current ginseng baby's aura was even more tempting. However, in the next moment, as the wood element ginseng baby's entire body was filled with flames, its aura became strange. Boom! Energy points? It directly exceeded 100 million. Baby ginseng, who used the fire of life to burn its life force, had its energy level increase instantly. It was even more terrifying than the energy fluctuations on 11 and Buggy. At this moment, it was like an eruption before death, making everyone suddenly look over. It burned its life. You want to use this to escape? Be it divine beasts, demigods, or legendaries, they discovered baby ginseng's power at this moment and suddenly approached the totem with incredulous expressions. A monarch-level ginseng baby's strength could actually instantly reach the level of a totem. This was simply. If it was the current power, it might really be able to erupt with stronger speed and escape the devour of the space worm to let the space worm and the rubber divine tree meet. However, what made many experts widen their eyes was that this ginseng baby that suddenly erupted with extremely strong energy didn't want to escape with this power. Instead, in the next second, the energy on baby ginseng's body began to expand and explode. Any creature present was very familiar with this familiar energy waveform change. Self-destruction. This ginseng baby actually started to self-destruct. At this moment, the Black Dragon Juggernaut, the Tyrant Dragon King, and the Genesis Tree God were first stunned. Then, they revealed shocked expressions of disbelief. The legendaries of the 7 countries, the various divine beasts, and the various totem half-gods had shocked expressions. They couldn't believe the change they were seeing in front of them. Wait a minute. Why? Why did this ginseng baby choose to self-destruct? It was clearly not in a desperate situation at all. Using the strength of burning life force, there was still a chance to escape. After that, it could also replenish its life force through various resources. In the end, a series of eruptions was just for the current self-destruction. This guy? Could it be? Why? At this moment, the one who sensed the most was still the Thundercrown rubber divine tree near baby ginseng. It looked at the ginseng baby that had become a son with a shocked expression. They felt a hot wave coming from afar. The space worms closest to baby ginseng were also stunned. Their bodies were purely stiff from the huge energy fluctuations. Especially the space worm that swallowed the ginseng baby. It felt that it had swallowed a hot light ball. Baby Ginseng's domineering voice came from the light ball. Yi! I'm the sun. Yi won. Sun and moon shining, explode. First, through the super skill plant control that was close to transcendent, it activated his potential to the maximum. Then, it activated the maximum time fruit and the fire seed of life and erupted with all his potential. In the end, it ignited everything through the moon explosion skill. The strongest attack. With a boom, Baby Ginseng fell like the sun. Endless strong light bloomed from the body that swallowed the space worm. The entire body of the space worm was directly devoured by strong light and flames. A terrifying energy wave shook the sky and earth, forming a spreading explosion. Everything in the range of the explosion instantly sublimated. The entire sky first darkened. With a loud bang, it created a world that belonged to the night, changing the entire barrier phenomenon. The dark sky and bright night moon made everything silent. Right on the heels of that, a dazzling sun slowly rose and lingered with the moon. Under the alternation of the sun and moon. Boom! The wave of the moon explosion swept out again. Endless strong light spread in the surroundings. At this moment, the bodies of the nearby space worms suffered a destructive attack. The rubber divine tree, which was relatively close, felt the fatal heat wave, and its eyes were still filled with an incomprehensible expression. Fire, as it retreated crazily, the shocking flames in front of it still instantly arrived. What exactly is this? At this moment, it still didn't understand what had just happened. At the same time, they didn't understand why a monarch-level ginseng baby could release such a powerful wave when it self-destructed. I'm not eating anymore, I'm not eating anymore. Let me go. As it shouted in despair, its body gradually disappeared. The group of space worms was undoubtedly instantly swallowed by the light. The Overlord-level space worms were almost instantly gone, and the Totem-level space worms were also encountering an unprecedented impact according to their physiques. As for the contestants from the Totem countries who had left the battlefield at the start, they were still fleeing, but the huge explosion that inexplicably swept up from behind directly made them tremble to the extreme. They had no idea what was going on over there. At this moment, their shocking desire to live made them accelerate again and escape into the distance with all their might. However, the explosion spread even faster. The light of the explosion directly enveloped most of the trial barrier with Baby Ginseng as the center. The destructive power caused by it completely destroyed everything in a breath. The speed of the Totem country contestants was not enough for them to escape such a powerful explosion. They were almost the batch of creatures who lost their lives the most pointlessly. Chapter 976, 976 Time Element, 9. 976 Time Element, 9. At this moment, as the trial barrier, created by the eternal divine tree, was enveloped in light, many gods opened their mouths wide. Many demigods watched all of this in shock, and the legends of the 7 countries were even more stunned. They finally knew what divine source legendary meant. Self-destruction. It was comparable to the self-destruction of a totem-level mechanical life form. This was the power of the top-notch forbidden weapon below divine restrictions. Why? In the outside world. The scene inside the trial barrier was extremely spectacular. Cracks appeared on the trial barrier near the center of the explosion as an energy wave swept past. When a deafening voice sounded, the energy barrier of the trial barrier directly collapsed. The flying energy light instantly filled the entire sky. The nearby totems and overlords were shocked, their hearts almost jumping out. At this moment, the entire island could see the huge explosive energy phantom that filled the sky and the barrier. It was a white energy body that looked like a ginseng baby. It seemed to be 10,000 meters tall. It opened its round arms and had already broken through the barrier, as if it was hugging the sun and moon in the starry sky. It was very happy. It was happy, but the audience was shocked by it. They were very shocked, and their ears didn't work. Lunatic! 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 At that moment, the demigod led by the Genesis tree god shouted crazily. It knew that it was definitely impossible for the rubber divine tree to survive this attack when it was weak to fire. They felt that Xiaoyu and that ginseng baby were crazy. he didn't expect Shiyu and the others to actually have such a self-destruction sure-kill skill. Moreover, he actually sacrificed its life to obtain the divine inheritance for the eternal flower. No wonder Shiyu disappeared in advance. So he had run away. However, was it really worth sacrificing a ginseng baby comparable to a divine-level resource for the eternal flower? At this moment, the Genesis Tree God, the Black Dragon Juggernaut, and the Tyrant Dragon King also felt a sense of fear. They weren't afraid of enemies with extremely high potential, but they were afraid of such lunatics with extremely high potential. For a divine-level resource, Shiyu could sacrifice his pet. What else couldn't he do? At that moment, everyone was stunned by the self-destruction strategy Shiyu chose. The strong wind of the explosion spread crazily. At a speed of hundreds of meters per second, it quickly affected the entire barrier, causing damage of different scales. Although the destructive power caused continued to weaken, it instantly made the entire trial barrier into a mess. There were no longer any plants. As the light dissipated, the participants of the totem country were clearly all extinct. The Overlord-level space worms was already gone. There was only a huge totem incomplete corpse and 4 huge cosmic worms that only had the slightest life aura left, but they also looked miserable. They were relatively intact on the charred ground. It self-destructed, killed 2 totems, and heavily injured 4 totems, causing them to fall into a near-death state. After countless space worms died, life essence that filled the sky floated in the air. Such a huge life essence made many spectators outside widen their eyes. However, what shocked them even more was that a figure was standing on the charred ground like the totem corpses. Who else could that figure be but Shiyu? Under the chaotic energy tide, Shiyu's short black hair fluttered. He looked up at the corpses and the life essence that filled the sky and revealed a satisfied expression. At the same time, the time mark was activated. Under the gathering of the power of time, under the stunned expressions of all the legendary, demigod, and divine beasts, a seemingly unscathed ginseng baby with a hexagram of time flowing in its eyes gathered in the sky again. Its petals ignited with the rich flames of life. It was in an excellent state, and its pupils were filled with invincibility. Yi! Then, it gently landed on Shiyu's shoulder and looked at the life essence that filled the sky with him. At this moment, the eyes of the originally shocked Black Dragon Juggernaut, the Genesis Tree God, and the other half-gods almost popped out. It wasn't just them. At this moment, no matter who it was, they couldn't accept that baby ginseng, who had just self-destructed and used its life as the price to unleash the resplendent strike, was actually unscathed at this moment. It appeared on Shiyu's shoulder again without any effect. If that attack didn't self-destruct at the cost of his life, how could it have such strong destructive power? Those were 6 totems and dozens of top-notch overlords. Impossible, definitely impossible. The Genesis Tree God shouted in shock. The Tyrant Dragon King's face was filled with disbelief. As for the divine beasts, they also looked at Shiyu and the others in the barrier in disbelief. They knew very well what had happened just now. Time skill. After it self-destructed and died, it used a time element skill to reverse life and death and completed its revival. In the sky, the boar god said in shock. Revival type time skill. Even if this skill was only super, its rarity far exceeded most divine skills. How could it appear on a ginseng baby? Time revival skill? At this moment, as the boar god was shocked, the entire Inatella looked at Shiyu and baby ginseng in the center of the self-destruction with an extremely incredulous gaze. It was difficult to accept and unbelievable. There was such a skill? Even Emperor Shazpet had never heard of a time element revival skill. How could this beast tamer, this ginseng baby? At this moment, the contestants of the 7 countries seemed to know what the life and death crisis their legendary mentioned was. That wasn't from the space worm or the totem country at all. It came from Shiyu, a demon who often used death as the price to let monarch-level pets self-destruct and destroy totems. He was a monster. As for Shiyu, he sensed the gazes of the entire island and understood that baby ginseng's time mark had been completely exposed. However, it wasn't a big problem. This kind of thing was the same as the undying fruit. If it was said, it might make the enemy more afraid. he couldn't help but raise his head and look at the Boar God and the other gods in the sky. As expected of Lord Boar God, my ginseng baby has indeed mastered a time-type revival skill. It can revive itself countless times after self-destruction. Shiyu smiled. As Shiyu finished speaking, the entire island trembled. The pupils of the totems and overlords who still wanted to eat the ginseng baby constricted, and they suddenly shut their mouths. However, in the next moment, what shocked the entire island was not only did strong time fluctuations come from the trial barrier just now. At this moment, in the direction of Dong Huang, a blue owl suddenly rose steadily in confusion. Lord Owl, the teachers and students of Imperial Capital University suddenly looked at it. At this moment, the most stunned was still the owl cat. After being stunned, it laughed with tears in its eyes. Today, I, a time element overlord, advance to the totem realm. As expected of me. At this moment, the factions on the entire island were even more stunned. Dong Huang had another time element totem. Chapter 977, 977 A lot of resources. 977 A lot of resources. Time element was known as the rarest attribute. Even if the main stats weren't time element, as long as the secondary stats contained the nature of time, a skill could easily become the skill of the strongest tier of stats. It was like the heavenly frost cold energy that froze time. It was because of this skill that the frost dragon could easily live for more than 2,000 years at the overlord level, still like a virgin. Just time element skills were already so powerful, and pets with time element and time talent were even harder to find. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For example, in this world competition, among the more than 100 factions, apart from Baby Ginseng, no transcendent life form's own stats were time element. On Dong Huang's side, a ginseng baby that had mastered a time element revival skill and a totem level time element life form suddenly appeared. How could the totem country not be shocked? Boom! A huge aura bloomed from the prediction owl. The gem cat beside it bit its handkerchief and felt sour. Back then, when it broke through to the totem level, it had accumulated decades of savings and had to face the threat of the totem before barely breaking through. In the end, this hooligan inexplicably relied on future prediction to break through and become a totem. It really made the cat unhappy. Fortunately, after obtaining the 9-colored divine light, it was a cat of another level. It was fine if the owl in front of it broke through. Holy shit! The situation at Imperial Capital University also shocked Dragon Palace City, especially the Frost Dragon. What was going on? Why was it that someone in the audience had broken through while Shiyu was fighting to the death? Logically speaking, shouldn't Shiyu and the others break through after farming monsters and obtaining a large amount of EXP? Totem level. As the owl's aura suddenly increased, countless gazes looked at it. A moment later, the imposing prediction owl opened its eyes, and the power of the totem was undoubtedly displayed. Why do I feel that its aura is even weaker than my aura after breaking through? At the side, the gem cat's surprised voice came. Prediction owl? Grandma, I'm not a battle-type pet, the prediction owl shouted. The totem countries did not react to the fact that the totem aura of the prediction owl was not strong. They were still secretly shocked. This was very normal. It could be said that even if a time element appeared, its other aspects would be restricted because its ability was too bug-like. For example, the price of the time sprite mastering a divine skill like space-time travel was that its strength couldn't be too strong, or it would interfere with the space-time law. For example, the prediction owl had mastered a time element skill like future prediction. Apart from that, it didn't have any other powerful attack methods. It could only rely on future prediction to predict battles. It was almost impossible to destroy a city with a big move. In the past few thousand years, be it the 7 countries or the totem country, there seemed to be only one expert who could use the time element to explosive battle power. Dong Huang's first legendary emperor, Emperor Shi. Only his time element pet really displayed the power of time. Pioneers were often the most difficult. As the first legendary beast tamer to establish the human countries, the predicament Emperor Shi faced at that time was far more difficult than the other emperors. However, he still swept through the east. Among them, the contribution of the time element could not be said to be small. As for the future, even a powerful legend with time talent like the first principal of the Imperial Capital University only had a thing like the prediction owl. However, these were all in the past. Although the owl's aura had decreased, many gazes swallowed their saliva again and looked at the messy trial barrier. Most people didn't expect that this pet that looked like a ginseng baby actually had a time element. At the moment, people could only call it baby ginseng. Its race definitely couldn't be a ginseng baby. Which ginseng baby's ginseng flower could ignite all its life flames like the sunflower? Which ginseng baby's green eyes could have the pattern of a time hexagram? Obviously, this was also a monster wearing a supplement race as sheepskin. Everyone could actually accept that such a race had mutated and evolved into a time element race. After all, it was nothing for the time element to give a supplement race. However, what made everyone's teeth hurt was that the explosive skills of this supplement race were ridiculously high. Moreover, it had mastered the self-destruction skill. After a monarch-level pet in its initial state self-destructed, its power was actually comparable to the self-destruction of a totem-level life form. Was this reasonable? How exactly did he train the pet? Even the ancient senior, Ji Mengzhu, who had seen Shiyu blow up a totem with her own eyes, couldn't help but be stunned again. They felt that the power of this self-destruction was even greater than that time. In the trial barrier, Shiyu and the others were also very satisfied with the power of the self-destruction. He felt that the skill wasn't for nothing. The fire of life that was close to perfect proficiency, plant control that was close to transcendent proficiency. This was the fundamental reason why baby ginseng's self-destruction power was comparable to the self-destruction of a totem-level life form. At that moment, baby ginseng completely modified itself into the strongest forbidden weapon. Hoo. Under the energy tide, Shiyu and baby ginseng were between a pile of huge corpses. Life essence floated in the sky. These were all condensed by the space worms that had been modified by the eternal divine tree. Tough. At this moment, Shiyu revealed a difficult expression in the face of so many nutrients. Chapter 978, 978 A lot of resources, 2. 978 A lot of resources, 2. The energy of this life essence that filled the sky was huge. But he didn't know if he should absorb it or not. After absorbing this, with baby ginseng's current situation, it would definitely break through to the overlord level like absorbing legendary resources. In fact, even overlords couldn't withstand it. There was the life essence condensed by 5 totem-level space worms here. After absorbing their life essence, there was a high chance that baby ginseng would leap into the totem level. At that time, Shiyu would definitely explode. If he had known, he would have brought his senior in too. This way, with her sharing some of the burden, it shouldn't be a problem for her monarch-level imperial concubine flower to be strengthened to the invincible overlord level. Wait, maybe we can pack it up and take it away. Shiyu looked at the EXP filling the sky and fell into deep thought. Lord Eternal Divine Tree. Shiyu looked in the direction of the Eternal Divine Tree through the broken barrier and asked, "Excuse me, can I not absorb these first and take away?" The Eternal Divine Tree was silent. Mother ***? This was like asking if he could pack up if he ate a buffet. Be a human. The Boar God, Shenming, Demon King Dragon, and the others were silent. Damn, what was wrong with this kid? They were originally looking forward to this trial. Looked forward to the future's creatures being killed by the space worms and chased after by them. Although these space worms were only small soldiers, in their opinion, they were more than enough to deal with these guys. Even if that totem tree could resist the overlord-level space worm, it was definitely not its match if it fought the totem-level space worm. However, to the surprise of many gods, the trial ended not long after it started. With the help of the self-destruction and time element revival skill, Shiyu, along with the cultivators, directly wiped out all the targets. This was a situation that these gods didn't expect before the trial began. Up to you. At this moment, the Eternal Divine Tree didn't want to say anything at all. It even regretted taking out so many space worms. As a result, at this moment, it could only watch helplessly as the ginseng baby used plant control to create a huge tree. Yi! Baby ginseng pressed its palms together and bowed gratefully in the direction of the eternal divine tree. Thank you for the big meal, Grandma Eternal Divine Tree. It packed it up and took it away. These things? If they could be packed, Shiyu and baby ginseng would be overjoyed. It could be sensed that this life essence was very nourishing, especially for life force. What did this mean? After collecting it, Shiyu had supplements that added points to quasi-divine skills and supplements that fused skills. Boom! The huge tree began to absorb the life essence that filled the sky. Green fruits grew from the huge tree. Plant control plus mutated fruit plus nutrition. Baby ginseng, finish him off. At the same time, Shiyu didn't forget to let baby ginseng completely kill the 4 cosmic worms that hadn't been completely blown up. The physical strength of this group of space worms was still strong. Shiyu felt that the physical strength of some totem-level space worms was almost catching up to Buggy and 11. This was very rare among totems. After all, totems like the cat might not even have 1/10 of 11 and the other's physical strength. Buzz! Fruits condensed one after another. Yi! Die! At the same time, baby ginseng attacked the totem worms that weren't completely dead. The physiques of these totem worms were very strong, and when they were in perfect condition, it might not necessarily be able to break through their defense even if they were attacked by the form of ginseng baby's time fruit. Now that they had almost exploded, it was easier to sprinkle salt on their injuries. Baby ginseng only let countless branches spread out of the huge tree and stab into their bodies in the time state. Then, it easily ended their life activity through nutrient plunder and absorbed life nutrients. At this moment, all the contestants of the Totem Country looked at the trial barrier with fear. The brains of the few Totem Country contestants who realized the danger and withdrew from the competition at the last minute rumbled. Their faces were pale and they were filled with lingering fear. Looking at the tragic situation in the trial barrier, they couldn't help but be afraid. All the overlords weren't even left with dregs. Even at the totem level, 2 had been blown up. The 4 that barely survived were also experiencing miserable slaughter. So scary. If they had any hope at that time, they would probably have become a wisp of soul. Not bad. At this moment, as more and more fruits condensed, Shiyu became happier and happier. The life essence condensed by every overlord level space worm was comparable to a level 8 resource of legendary quality, and the life essence condensed by the totem level space worm was completely equivalent to a legendary resource. Therefore, baby ginseng's explosion directly exploded 5 legendary resources and more than 40 quasi-legendary resources. If he included the eternal flower gifted by the eternal divine tree later. Shiyu thought for a moment. After researching it, he would definitely eat the eternal flower. This way, his physique would be further strengthened. Then, it would be easier to add some quasi-divine skills. This trial could be said to have completely blown up all the supplements Shiyu might need to add some quasi-divine skills next. This was more like it. Shiyu felt that this was the correct way to self-destruct. There had to be benefits. It could be imagined that after he accepted the blessing of the World Tree and broke through to the legend level, he could directly use these supplements to complete a huge increase in strength first. Chapter 979, 979 A lot of resources, 3. 979 A lot of resources, 3. The foundation for adding points had increased. After that, he could be a heartless adding machine. At that time, his strength would be passable. He was still a little lacking now. Shiyu looked outside, as if he wanted to look at the Black Dragon Juggernaut, the Tyrant Dragon King, and the Genesis Tree God who had ill intentions towards him through the void. For the time being, he definitely couldn't defeat them. Damn it! When it met Shiyu's gaze, the Genesis Tree God's heart skipped a beat and it was shocked. As a 9-lives demigod, he was actually frightened by a level 6 beast tamer. Berserk Dragon King, Black Dragon Juggernaut. At this moment, the most furious was still the Genesis Tree God. It was extremely regretful in its heart and didn't understand why it had boarded the pirate ship of these 2 dragons. Shiyu had clearly displayed so much unscientific battle power previously, so why did it still have to rely on luck? It didn't feel that the rubber divine tree was dead, but it was worried that Shiyu would target the origin place because of this. The potential and strength Shiyu had displayed so far were enough to make them demigods afraid. The stronger one was, the more afraid they were of death. Moreover, the opportunity to revive the mythical stage was right in front of them. Without the divine inheritance, the world tree blessing would definitely be out of reach. They even offended such a monster. It was a complete double loss. It was so silly, really. Roar! The black dragon Juggernaut directly hid in a deeper space. The tyrant Dragon King even looked at Shiyu's figure with a wavering gaze. It completely didn't expect that at this point. It still couldn't affect Shiyu at all. Now, no one can stop him at all. The tyrant Dragon King's pupils constricted. It felt that it was even harder for it to affect Shiyu under the multiple protections of Dragon Palace City and Dong Huang. The champion of the world tournament would most likely be Shiyu.
Was there a need to continue this world competition?
The two greatest favorites to win the championship, the totem-level contestants, were directly killed before they could last until the main competition. Dead before they could win the competition. At the thought of its carefully cultivated descendant dying in Shiyu's hands just like that, at the thought that Shiyu was the culprit behind snatching its believers, the tyrant Dragon King found it unbearable. It really wanted to transmigrate back to 10 years ago and kill Shiyu in his child form in advance. Of course, those totem countries that had listened to the bewitchment of the Black Dragon Juggernaut and the Tyrant Dragon King but didn't have their origins turn pale when they saw their contestants die tragically. At this moment, when many contestants from the totem country saw Shiyu, their legs had already gone weak. Even the trump cards of demigod factions like the Dark Knight Forest and the Demon Kingdom had pale expressions. They had no idea how to participate in the next world competition. Infinite self-destruction revival and meteorite falling from the sky, what was the point of fighting? This wasn't even counting the ridiculous blue sea sprite and Shiyu himself, who was also terrifyingly strong after possession. Moreover, how could the wind Kareen of the mythical race be weak? Didn't they see that a wind of luck made the divine beast bleed slightly? If it was said that the various countries still had hope previously, but at this moment, when they saw Shiyu kill two totems in succession in an instant, they were completely afraid. They felt that this world competition wasn't F*King for overlords to participate in. Only at the totem level would there be an admission ticket. Moreover, there was a high chance of being insta-killed by passing monsters. What the hell? At this moment, the corners of the mouths of the demigods of the totem countries and the legends of the human countries twitched. Their hearts trembled. Not only were their citizens stunned, but they also found it very difficult to accept. They didn't understand why Dong Huang had such a monster. Why was every pet of Shiyu so strange? At that moment, if there was anyone who was more excited and wanted to fight Shiyu, it was probably the Golden Bull God. At this moment, the Golden Bull God's gaze was burning. Initially, it was still worried that the Green Dragon's meteorite wouldn't be able to satisfy it in the subsequent trial, but if this self-destruction that contained the power of fire and light was included, it felt that its blood was already boiling. As expected, it looked at Shiyu. This person should be the one who could let it fight to its heart's content after waking up. At the thought of Shiyu's strength, the Golden Bull God couldn't help but stretch its muscles. A moment later, Shiyu finished collecting all the fruits of life. He brought baby ginseng out of the barrier politely and looked at the eternal divine tree. The corners of the Demon King Dragon's mouth twitched. It didn't expect that the sixth trial would still be taken by Shiyu. This made it feel that the seventh one was most likely still Shiyu. No, or rather, among them, only Shiyu could make that cow acknowledge him. Take it. Your performance is not bad. Looking at the messy trial, the eternal divine tree took out a 7-colored eternal flower that contained strong life force and threw it at Shiyu. Thank you. Buzz. When the eternal flower landed in Shiyu's hand, Shiyu immediately felt comfortable. Eat it and its lifespan would immediately increase by 10,000 years. One had life force comparable to a divine level. Ni would never decrepify and maintain its peak state. However, he only wanted to know if the eternal power of this divine-level resource could offset the additional points of the divine skill. Chapter 980 Ancient God Golden Bull 1. 980 Ancient God Golden Bull 1. Hey, isn't it my turn next? After the eternal flower landed in Shiyu's hand, the golden bull god in the sky could no longer hold it in. It was a battle ancient god to begin with. The moment the world tree woke it up and asked it to undergo the trial, ancient god Golden Bull had already thought about it. It would personally fight the creatures of the future and see how far they could please him. It stood in the sky, its eyes burning with flames. At this moment, many factions suddenly looked at the Golden Bull god, still recovering from the shock brought by Shiyu just now. So there was another trial. Dark clouds lingered above the heads of many factions. At this moment, they were no longer interested in this trial. It felt like it was prepared for Shiyu again. What was the Golden Bull god's trial again? It seemed like it wanted to fight and wanted the participant to please it. In other words, it was still a battle of battle power. Many factions actually didn't doubt ancient god Golden Bull's strength. This was because Western archaeologists had once archaeologically cracked a ruin from the mythical era. This mythical ruins was built by the followers of ancient god Golden Bull. It recorded ancient god Golden Bull's powerful battle results. Ancient god Golden Bull had once attacked a god with a non-divine body. 5. It had never stopped fighting and liked to fight. After entering the god realm, he even had the battle record of defeating dozens of gods. He was a real powerhouse. Therefore, the West called it the battle ancient god. Facing such a god, even invincible overlords like the fallen angel couldn't imagine how they could please this god better than self-destructing and meteorites. The World Tree clone also looked at ancient god Golden Bull with a headache. The other gods knew that they were weak now and recuperated obediently. This ancient god Golden Bull was still so stubborn. However, the World Tree clone knew a lot about ancient god Golden Bull's talent and strength. It should be considered a god ranked in the first tier of divine beasts left on Blue Planet at its peak. Although it was still inferior to those top-notch gods who had left Blue Planet, it was considered one of the best among the new gods. At this moment, everyone looked at ancient god Golden Bull, who had erupted with might, and looked at Shiyu. It was obvious that Shiyu would definitely participate in this trial. A battle with ancient god Golden Bull. With the exaggerated performance of the meteorite and self-destruction, it could definitely make this ancient god Golden Bull happy. After all, ancient god Golden Bull himself had said just now that his hand was itching to smash a few meteorites to warm up. Presumably, it had already targeted Shiyu. As for ancient god Golden Bull's words, no one doubted it. After all, it was a battle ancient god that had stepped into the god realm. Not to mention a divine level, even if it was a demigod who had mastered a quasi-divine skill, they wouldn't be afraid of Shiyu's green dragon and baby ginseng if they suppressed them to the same level and relied on their skill proficiency. Perhaps, through ancient god Golden Bull's trial, they could see Shiyu's limit. The black dragon Juggernaut and the other demigods thought with deep gazes. At this moment, ancient god Golden Bull indeed passed by the figures of the other contestants and landed his gaze on Shiyu. Human, you definitely won't miss my trial, right? I look forward to fighting you. However, you fought consecutively several times just now. I'll give you some rest. When the rest is over, you can fight me again. Actually, there's no need to rest. Shiyu looked up at ancient god Golden Bull and said, the battle just now didn't consume much of our strength. Since Lord Divine Spirit wants to fight, let's fight directly. Everyone? Human language? After dealing with 2 totems in a row, he said that there was no consumption. Little brat, just rest if I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? At this moment, when he heard Shiyu's words, ancient god Golden Bull frowned and said, it was rare to encounter a good opponent. It didn't want to be unable to fight Shiyu at his peak. In that case, it would feel unhappy. Shiyu? There was really no need. The moves Buggy used were saved in advance. After baby ginseng revived, it was immediately full. Most importantly, Shiyu had no intention of letting Buggy and Baby Ginseng fight. However, Ancient God Golden Bull didn't agree with this. At this moment, the Golden Bull Ancient God forcefully let Shiyu rest, and its gaze landed on the countless invincible Overlord contestants present. For example, the Dark Elven Prince of the Dark Night Forest, the Fallen Angel Prince of the Demon Kingdom. Its voice was like a furnace. Although you're a little weak, you can make do. Come and warm up with me first. What? Upon hearing that, the Dark Elven Prince, the Fallen Angel Prince, and the others felt extremely humiliated. He paid special attention to Shiyu and regarded him as a key opponent. In the eyes of the Ancient God Golden Bull, they could only be considered warm-up tools. This was simply too much. Stop dawdling. You're all overlords, right? I've suppressed my level to the monarch level. If you can force me into a disadvantage in this state, you can tell me what you want. Ancient God Golden Bull grinned and said domineeringly. Upon hearing that, the expressions of the Dark Elven Prince, the Fallen Angel Prince, and the other contestants changed again. At that moment, the trial had already reached the last round. Shiyu was chased out by the Ancient God Golden Bull to rest. It pulled the Dark Elven Prince, the Fallen Angel Prince, and the other contestants to warm up. At this point, it was no longer difficult for many factions to determine that the final inheritance of Ancient God Golden Bull was definitely still given to Shiyu. After all, everyone had seen Shiyu's strength. He should be the strongest among all the contestants at the moment. This made the various factions very helpless. At the same time, they wanted to know how the World Tree would arrange the next world competition. Was there a need to fight? Shiyu, well done. And Baby Ginseng too. After Shiyu returned to Dong Huang, President Lin, the Gem Cat, and the others were extremely excited. The power of Baby Ginseng's self-destruction was simply too strong. Even the barrier known to the Eternal Divine Tree almost shattered completely. Rest well. As long as we fight that Ancient God Golden Bull again, the trial will all be over, President Lin said excitedly. The 7 trial inheritances had all fallen into Dong Huang's hands. Who else was left? All right. Shiyu smiled and said, so be it. I can take this opportunity to see Ancient God Golden Bull's strength. Yi Xing, Divine Bell, Zheng Hai, and the others had complicated expressions. Was it still necessary? No matter how strong it was, the other contestants were definitely not as strong as it. In the end, the trial inheritance would definitely still be his. Among them, only President Lin noticed the fighting spirit that also rose in Shiyu. He was suddenly stunned. Shiyu? Don't tell me you're here to see its strength with the intention of defeating Ancient God Golden Bull. President Lin's words shocked the surrounding tyrannical sea legend, the Gem Cat, Yi Xing, Divine Bell, and the others. Wait a minute, what did President Lin say? Shiyu wanted to defeat this god? What a joke! That was a god. Even a demigod was an unreachable existence. That was a god. Their expressions changed drastically as they looked at President Lin in disbelief, not understanding why he said that. Although Shiyu's Green Dragon and Baby Ginseng were very strong, it wasn't enough, right? The power of the Green Dragon's meteorite made those gods block it very easily. Although Baby Ginseng's self-destruction had broken the barrier, that barrier was probably only one of the many insignificant methods of the Eternal Divine Tree. They had yet to show their true divine skills. As a battle ancient god, the Golden Bull god definitely had a supreme battle divine skill that exceeded all creatures in the modern world. It was impossible to defeat. In fact, being able to injure the ancient god Golden Bull a little should be a huge achievement. President Lin, how do you know? Shiyu was extremely surprised. You've also seen it. Because those gods have slept for billions of years, in addition to the incomplete laws of the world, their states are very weak. The divine skill must have been suppressed and become a quasi-divine skill. It should only be equivalent to a mythical race at the Overlord level. Lord Lai Shan was even affected by the Wind Kirin's luck skill. If we really fight, their current strength might not necessarily be comparable to demigods. Perhaps. This was crazy. At this moment, Yi Xing, Divine Bell, and the others felt that Shiyu was crazy. Zhu Yun, Jiao Shen, Ji Feng, and the others widened their eyes and looked at Shiyu, who was analyzing seriously, in disbelief.
What did this kid say? He really wanted to defeat a god?
And using the current strength of the gods might not necessarily be better than demigods to prove the possibility of victory? What a joke! Hava hava! At the same time, on the battlefield, the Dark Elven Prince, who was pulled up by the ancient god Golden Bull first, was receiving a miserable beating. The huge ancient god Golden Bull turned into the form of a bullman. Its entire body was like burning metal water, and its muscles were ferocious. Golden light wrapped around its body. As an invincible overlord, the super profundities of the Dark Elven Prince landed on the Golden Bull god that suppressed its strength at the monarch level, but it actually didn't cause any damage at all. However, on the contrary, the Golden Bull ancient god only slapped out with a golden palm. The shockwave produced by the huge golden light instantly seemed to be spatial vibration, ravaging the Dark Elven Prince's body until it was riddled with holes, making its pupils turn white and its body broken. It directly smashed into the ground and created a huge pit. How is it? My metal control divine body. This is even without activating the power of the natural order.
Why did you fall before I even used any strength?
In the huge pit, the Dark Elven Prince spat out blood crazily, shocked. When this scene fell into the eyes of all the spectators, they could only have stunned expressions and doubt the authenticity of ancient god Golden Bull's words. Suppressing strength to the monarch level? Monarch level. Facing the big move of an invincible overlord, nothing happened. In fact, it could heavily injure an invincible overlord in one hit. Plop. At that moment, as the Dark Elven Prince was flattened by the Golden Bull ancient god's palm, the legendary human beast tamer in charge of strengthening the Dark Elven Prince not far away saw the gaze of the Golden Bull ancient god and his expression immediately froze. He sat on the ground. No, don't kill me. So weak. At this moment, ancient god Golden Bull exercised his fists and feet in boredom, very dissatisfied with the strength of the Dark Elven Prince. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the ancient god Golden Bull could still show a calm expression in the face of such a meteorite and self-destruction. Monster-like strength. Even if it was suppressed to the monarch level, it could still defeat invincible overlords. Golden Bull, you're too much of a bully. In midair, Lai Shan Jun, Boar God, Shenming, and the other gods couldn't help but say. He even used the prototype skill of a divine skill. The metal control divine body was the prototype skill of the divine body skill mastered by the Golden Bull ancient god. It was similar to the 9-colored divine light of the holy divine deer. It could be said to be the strongest skill below the Golden Bull ancient god divine skill. It had an indestructible attribute and an invincible attack damage ability. It could be said that it was the metal element physique skill closest to the metal law. Sorry, I don't have the habit of using other skills. I've dedicated all my cultivation to this body of mine. The Golden Bull ancient god grinned and said, that's why I suppressed my level to the monarch level. I've already taken good care of these little brats. Next. Ancient god Golden Bull laughed and looked in the direction of the demon kingdom, at the pale fallen angel. Kids, don't be afraid. If you can't even defeat me in this state, how can you face the future crisis? How about this? Be it a stronger state or a divine skill, as long as you can force one out of me, you win. Come on. In the face of ancient god Golden Bull's challenge, the invincible overlords of the totem factions took a step back with wary expressions. Get lost. This was clearly bullying.